relative to form-based code on Old Tower Hill Road. At this point, I'm going to hand it right over to the Planning Director, Jamie Rabbit.
Thank you, Mr. McEntee, and thank you, Town Council, for accommodating the 7 o'clock start time for the workshop. I have about 12 to 14 slides tonight. These were similar to the slide deck that were passed out 2 weeks ago, understanding you had a long agenda and a long evening that night. So simply, this is a review of some of the final recommendations the Planning Board had made with the consultant associated with the form-based code. Again, this is photographs and representations of renderings are examples of what may or could be, and some of the renderings aren't code specific. They're representative of styles and forms. I think I got some original feedback that some people didn't like the bulk of the tower on the initial form-based code page, so we can easily remove the tower and show you a different option. So again, that's the flexibility of the code. There are some aspirational aspects to that, but again, it's intended to be flexible, but still holding to some architectural themes. The document is 105 pages. It was conducted with our consultant, Able City East. The Planning Board had done some initial review, Affordable Housing, Economic Development Committee, and this primarily came out of the Economic Development Committee, 10, 12 years ago as a mechanism to potentially look at how Old Tower Hill Road should develop over time. So again, looking at the final draft of the form-based code, another rendering of what a street could look like under the bulk and density regulations of the code. The code is distinctly separated into 5 areas. They're called transects: transect 1, 1.5, 2, 3, and 4. You can kind of think of them as blocks in a pyramid, starting at the smaller blocks and moving up to 4. So the least dense developed areas would be FB1, residential neighborhood, which primarily is looking to redevelop in the single-family duplex and possibly triplex scenario with bed and breakfasts. Those are things currently allowed in the zone. FB15 came about through a discussion with the Planning Board. FB15, which is the area between Stedman's and just shy of Citizens Bank, is a historic kind of portion of Main Street that has seen some transitions over the year from single-family use to some commercial service-orientated. But for the majority of that area, it's maintained its residential fabric. There have been some tear downs and rebuilds, but in talking with the Planning Board, EDC, and Housing, their thoughts were, is there a way to allow increased density but allow that residential fabric? So we've structured the architectural and dimensional regulations to allow that kind of residential feel there, with an expansion of it, slightly larger buildings, but still with that residential architectural feel. FB2 is the Citizens Bank area, CVS, and Holly Street. FB, which again is more dense than the FB1. FB3 is primarily along Old Tower Hill Road and Route 108 and Kingston Road, and that's again a step up in the density and architecture, larger buildings, taller, more densely developed. And then the Route 1 Gateway, FB4, is primarily the Wakefield Mall, the Mazda dealership, 2 properties along Old Tower Hill Road and 2 properties on the south side of Old Tower Hill Road. So in essence, the transcripts look like this. The light yellow is FB1. The darker tan between yellow and brown is the FB1 neighborhood that, again, is associated with Main Street, pretty much from Stedman's up to the Citizens Bank property. FB2 is in brown, primarily Holly Street. FB3 is associated with Old Tower Hill Road and Kingston Road. And then you'll see FB4 as described, Wakefield Mall, Mazda, 2 out parcels along Old Tower Hill Road, and then the commercial development on the south side abutting Route 1. You also have a holdover at FB1, which are the MacArthur area single-family residential development. Just a brief overview of FB1. Again, that single-family redevelopment or expanded development within that zone. Again, single-family in nature, but it also allows duplex, triplex, bed and breakfasts. FB 1.5, again, is commercial service-orientated, but the intent is to maintain that residential feel. FB2 is kind of the Citizens Bank Holly Street area, more dense than FB1 and FP2. That's where you start to see development closer to the streets, 2.5 stories, potentially 3, with more streetscape, parking in the rear or parking on the side. FB3, 3 to 4 story buildings, primarily associated with Old Tower Hill Road and Kingston Road. And then FB4 is the potential redevelopment, not tomorrow, not 5 years from now, at some point in time, if a property owner decides that they want to redevelop their property, and to do it in that non-automobile centric scenario. Again, these are graphic representations of what potentially could be. Some of the changes that the council asked the department to address were associated with administration. We added additional language to clarify compliance thresholds, lawful existing buildings, when the form-based code standards apply, scope of a compliance, and things that don't trigger compliance. You know, I met with a number of business owners who were concerned that they were told, and I'll use the example of the bowling alley, that if he redoes the alleys and redoes the restaurant, and we'll use the term, uses $1 million in renovations internal to the property, that he would have to tear down his building and adhere to the form-based code. That is 100% false. Interior renovations do not require compliance. If a building burns down or is destroyed by an act of God, it does not trigger compliance. You're allowed to rebuild on your existing footprint. You're allowed a certain expansion of that footprint. It's trigger mechanisms when expansions get beyond certain thresholds. The next slide basically shows an overview of some of the changes. We had some build to lines, which traditionally under Euclidean zoning, there are setbacks. So there are you can't build a building within a front yard setback, side yard setback, or rear yard setback. But there's no mandate that if your lot is 300 feet deep, you could put your building 200 feet from the street and put all your parking in front. The form-based code kind of turns that around and says, we want to steer you towards a building that is more street-orientated, public-facing, with public entrances off the street, with parking on the side or rear. So intent is to get a more public-friendly pedestrian streetscape that is more attractive to the user. And also in FB 2, 3, and 4, we allow that second floor component and third floor component in 3 and 4 of residential, where you want to make that area more walkable. And again, these graphics, I know they're tiny, but basically it shows the build to lines, and then there is an allowed encroachment within the build to lines for public-private facilities such as dining areas, public-private spaces, porches, and other amenities that can be built between property line and front of the building. This is just an overview where we're trying to clarify some of the architecture associated with the form-based code. Again, these are graphic representations of what the code could allow. They're not intended to be exactly what a developer has to build, but they're somewhat aspirational. And again, everything's open to interpretation. Someone may say they don't like the dormers, they like flat roofs, so we offered a flat roof in one of the examples, and we showed different materials. And again, I've run software on these with brick facades, clapboard facades, cedar shakes with granite water tables. So there's a host of options that can be explored. And again, these would be examples more fitting for FB3 and FB4, where you have first floor commercial space, second and third floor residential, trying to put on taller buildings, third floor residential built into the roof line. And again, just another example of that. This is an example of what some of the streetscapes could look like in an FB3 and FB4. This is the section associated with the administration and lawful existing buildings, and I'll just touch upon that. So again, there are new sections that clarify what an existing building is defined as, when the standards apply, when you're affected by a forward expansion of a building that's existing, what happens when you're proposing a new structure, what happens when you're proposing substantial demolition, and the scope of compliance. And those are all covered on page, I believe it's 74 or 5. The same thing too with application requirements in the top left, activities not triggering compliance, and here's a blow up of that. Interior renovations. If you're swapping out windows, if you're changing a facade, going from clapboard to siding or vinyl siding to hardy plank or some other materials, that does not trigger code compliance with regards to the density, bulk, and a tear down rebuild. Again, additions that don't exceed the percentages within the code, in exterior building structure alterations that do not increase the footprint. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a clear section under demo fire and act of gods. That section is actually not new. That exists in our code. We, in essence, are being redundant and bringing that forward into the form-based code as presented, so there's no question. So again, the intent is this will act as a subsection of the regulations, so someone can pick up the form-based code and know what they need to do with minimal reference back to the entire zoning ordinance. So, any questions?
Yeah, Jamie, I really like the abbreviated version of this, and I spent some time with the larger version, and so I just had some questions about a couple of these pictures, really for the village core, that I wasn't crazy about, and so you showed me some other really nice photos of things that you had come up with, and I was wondering if we could all see them, because they look like a lot more like Wakefield. And I want to thank you for all your work in giving us this project that looks like Wakefield and not at all like some generic Florida place, so thank you.
Yeah, we are trying and evolving with our architectural examples every day. To Ms. Alley's point, there are some kind of bulk and density renderings and drawings in the existing report and in the form-based code. Some of those don't represent architecture, they only represent what potentially could be built from a kind of, if we had a Lego set, that we're just doing square shoe boxes and we're placing the shoe boxes on the property to represent density and placement. Architecture, to Ms. Alley's point, is somewhat subjective, but we're trying to be clear enough in the code and we're continuing to refine that. And I'll just go down to a couple of options. Again, this is a rendering that I generated of a 2-story building, flat roof, with first floor retail or office space, service orientated with awnings, streetscape. Again, intended to be somewhat representative of an architectural style, just a different variation of that. This is another variation of streetscape. Again, you have flat roof, some mansard roofs, some gable roofs, some with cedar, some with brick, some with clapboards. Again, it's an intent to be representative of some of the mixture of architecture and architectural styles that exist in South Kingstown. This, and again, if you reference this, you'll see that I have in the top right, FB1 and FB2. So this is potentially the redo of a property that would be in the FB1 or FB2, primarily one-story buildings with a potential second story built into the roof line. These also could be two-story buildings with flat roofs. This is more representative of FB3 and FB4 with regards to form, bulk, and density. These buildings are pulled closer to the street. Parking would be behind these buildings. And again, trying to make it more pedestrian-friendly from the street with some plaza outdoor dining between the two buildings. And again, I could go on and on. But again, hopefully these are a little more representative of what you're thinking about architecturally. And again, we can work with the planning board to do a subset of this within the architectural standards.
A couple of things, Jamie. One, I'd like to also thank you for all the work that's been done, but just to be clear, one of the things that you said, you referenced the Economic Development Committee's work 8 years ago, submitting a report to the council, or former council, but this is not that. This is the result of the work that was done by the town's consultant, and has a very different feel to it than what the Economic Development Committee originally proposed. And I suspect, for the benefit of the public, at some point, we're going to have a hearing or series of public hearings on this. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for input from people about what they like or don't like. And I suspect that one of the things that we're going to be hearing from is some of the original members, not to mention property owners, who have feelings one way or the other about this or the original or something else altogether. So I wanted to be clear that this is not what the original Economic Development Committee proposal was. One of the things I'd like to clarify is the limits of the zone that we're talking about in all F1 through F4. Just to keep it fairly simple, 108 going north, is the bowling alley included? Is that the end of the zone?
You are correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And 108 going south, I keep wanting to call it Rody Joe's, and I know it's not that anymore, but Cantina.
Yes.
Is that the limit going south?
It is for the FB3, and then you have an FB2 that abuts Route 1. So that brown area?
Yeah.
Like in-
So it extends further out.
Can you do like Control Plus and make it bigger? Because we can't, it's so hard to read. No? Just want to see it.
Do you want to?
I can't see it.
This is the full, it's
This one?
you need.
So again, by exiting the PowerPoint presentation, I can
That's fine.
enlarge.
I'm just trying to get it straight in my own head, but also give the public the benefit of what the scope of this is. So the brown area at the southern end of 108 goes right up to
Route 1.
Route 1. On Tower Hill Road, up where the Chamber of Commerce office is and the Dunkin' Donuts and Gebers, it goes right to that on-ramp for Route 1.
Correct.
What about the buildings that are set back, the Wesley Credit Union and those other
They're not
commercial
within the
buildings?
form-based code.
They're not part of that, okay. And then I think you said, heading west on Tower Hill Road, the end is Citizens?
So heading west on Old Tower Hill Road, the form-based code goes to just shy of Stedman's, goes to the gas station on the corner.
Okay,
of
so
Stedman's.
it goes all the way over
Yeah.
to Stedman. Okay.
So the code goes from just east of Stedman's, starting with the gas station, all the way to Route 1. And within,
Okay.
along Old Main Street and Old Tower Hill Road, you have FB 1.5, 2, 3, and 4.
And then Deb just pointed out, it also goes up Columbia?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, Mr. Mayor, just to your point, I made a statement tonight that this goes back well beyond my tenure here for 6 years. The EDC and Planning Board have been working on this for years in various forms, and I think our consultant built off of those forums as well as the work that the University of Rhode Island did probably 7 or 8 years ago, where all of their development showed this style and density, but the regulatory way to make those pictures happen is not Euclidean zoning, it is a form-based regulatory code. And EDC, I believe, was in support of the work that the University of Rhode Island did. I don't think they maybe completely understood how to regulate that picture.
I would expect that we're going to hear from current members of the EDC, and I understand that they're in support of it,
Yeah.
but that also former members who may have a different view. How many properties are going to be governed by this?
Plus or minus, I think it's 208, but don't hold me to that. There's been some transitions and potential property mergers within that area. But I believe the numbers, we'll say plus or minus 200.
The council only received this final draft of the ordinance May 25th. Has it also gone out to every property owner that's going to be affected?
No, it has not gone out to every property owner. When you do your order of notice and a public hearing is scheduled, we are required to send notice to every property owner within the change. So FB1 all the way through 4, they will get notice via mail. It has been on our planning department page, the web page. There were press releases done and announcements on the town's social media.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know this was a lot of hard work, and I appreciate it. Somebody asked me to succinctly explain it, and I just, obviously you can't, but I said it was design standards and mixed-use zoning, and which would allow for residential development, increase walkability. And so those design standards, I'm with Patty, they are very attractive. They don't look like, I don't know, Sunrise, Florida, wherever you were. Seaside, Florida. It doesn't look like that. There's some interesting characteristics of that. But it's always the devil is in the details of like how it gets implemented. My concern is we can create this and it's not required. It's if it gets triggered if you want to do certain things. But if I own a piece of property, I never have to do anything. I would never change anything. But if I want to, these design standards apply. It's just how that gets triggered and how that process is for the person who owns that piece of property that I'm concerned with. Because a lot of times it's sort of like the council said X, and then it's the implementation of that. You know, it'll come up later on the agenda and other things. The intent versus the operation of the actual ordinance or the regulations always is the issue. So what do you see would be some challenges, I guess, playing the devil's advocate? What do you anticipate businesses, if this were to move forward, public hearing, even with some tweaks, what would be some challenges you would expect to hear from the business community?
So it's interesting. I was just with my fellow planners at the Congress of New Urbanism, and literally we discussed this. In other communities that have adopted form-based code or some changes to traditional zoning, whether they had traditional zoning and added increased architectural development standards. What are the implications of that? The first kind of thing we talked about was if you're not changing anything, there's nothing to worry about because you're not proposing any changes. The second thing is this is not a short-term endeavor. This is a long-term community goal. It's not going to happen tomorrow. If you looked at the corridor, a number of those tenants have 10-year leases with 5-year plus another 5-year renews. So unless there are substantial changes in the business complexity that retains in the corridor or ownership of those, you won't see change tomorrow. But if change is going to occur, if someone decided to buy the bowling alley and not have a bowling alley there anymore, do you want a sea of parking with a building behind it with no architectural standards, no design standards, only traditional setbacks and some landscaping code? I think what the community has done over the last 2 years and prior to that is says we would like an alternative to that automobile-centric 1960, 1970 design. This is a regulation that gives the redevelopment opportunity to deliver that community goal. We literally had some discussions of, I'm not standing before you to say we're going to take a photograph and we're all going to stand at the corner of Old Tower Hill and Kingston Road in 2026. And then we're going to do it 4 years from now, and you're going to see a transformation. And 4 years from now, the planning department and the town council can't promise any change.
Right.
Change is subject to the redevelopment of individual properties. But what we can say is that if someone plans to redevelop their property in the FB3 or FB4, right now they can't do mixed use. Right now they can't do residential. This allows them to do residential. This allows them to do the mixed use as a component of the residential. But also, if someone wants to build a Trader Joe's, it doesn't mandate that they build a second and third floor of residential. It just says the Trader Joe's will have to adhere to some of the architectural standards. The building can't be in the back of the parking lot. The building has to be up towards the street. There has to be a component and an entrance off the street so it's walkable. So it's not in a mall setting, it's more in the old traditional walkable community setting. And that's the aspirational aspect of the regulations. This is something for happen over time.
So may I finish? So sometimes I go into the other town, I like to call that Narragansett, and you drive around, I'm sure you've all driven to the town beach, and you know there's retail in that Gilbane development where there's all condos. I have to tell people, I'm like, oh, if you want to do some shopping, it's all inside there. And this design sort of showcases that. The business, if you imagine FB4, right, it's not all housing, right? You'll be able to see the residential. So it's always a head scratcher. I don't recall how Gilbane designed that, but you can, the retail's all in the middle and not accessible, so the businesses work so hard to bring people into the middle. So this is also showing and showcasing businesses. And I think if you, and I know you all travel south or however the direction, down Main Street, down around the corner by, from CVS to the Muse, you know how lovely it is, and it's becoming more beautiful and charming, and there's so many great things and places to eat. This, I think, is only an enhancement going back the other way in a scale that makes sense. So I really appreciate your hard work. I'm very interested to hear the feedback, because while I think it's excellent, I think sometimes people who live it and want to tweak it might have some good changes, maybe some suggestions, but I think this is a better path for, 25, 40 years from now. Whoever lives here will be thankful that it doesn't look like all big boxes and square buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie, I just want to echo my colleagues. You did a great job on this. It's been a long time coming, as you've mentioned. I just do want to echo some of the constituent opinions that I've heard. I've talked about this on the phone for more hours than I can actually claim any other topic for town council, which is surprising to me. But it's because, as Councilwoman Bergner said, this is going to be a change that will last for decades. And the decisions that this council makes, it will make a world of difference or not, depending on what decision we make. I think that some of the feedback that I've gotten, I'll first go negative feedback, was this is a stepping on property rights and the ability for a business to do what they want to do, and that form-based code is not exactly what they requested, as Council or Vice President Marion said when the EDC did this 10 years ago. It's a little bit different, but I would say that it's a step up in that process. I've also heard from people that are very in favor of form-based code. Additionally, that it's going to bring economic vitality to our main street right there on Tower Hill Road that's already doing well, but really make sure that it's built in the right direction and align with the council's priorities, which is building more affordable housing and workforce housing, encouraging our small businesses and nonprofits, and making sure that we align our ordinances in the proper way as we manage a growing town and a changing town. I would ask you, we had feedback last time about if a gas station would be able to retain or sell to another gas station. We've also had feedback like perhaps we increase the footprint size from 10%, that would trigger form-based code, to something maybe a little bit larger, to 20%. Is that kind of feedback, something that you've taken into account?
So we did look at that. We did listen. We did have conversations with the planning board. We did have conversations with our consultant, and we did make some changes to that. So with regards to the expansion question, there is a kind of a hierarchy of things with regards to expansion, because I'm a planner for 38 years, and I've had very intelligent attorneys and very intelligent planners and engineers read regulations that were well-intentioned and take advantage of those. So simply saying a 10% expansion is allowable is great when you have a 20,000 square foot building. That's a 2,000 square foot addition. But when you have a 200,000 square foot set of buildings, is a 20,000 square foot building, which is the size of a Dick's store, which is roughly, Dick's are typically about 25,000 square feet. Can you add that to the property without any code compliance? So when working with our consultant in the planning department, we tried to do fair structures to that. So the smaller buildings, if you look at the and again, I apologize for using the bowling alley as an example, because those are the most exhaustive discussions I've had with any of the property owners.
We love the bowling alley, that's why.
The intent of the provision is, if, say, the bowling alley there was new legislation that required different refrigeration in the keeping of food or storage of product. That size building should potentially be able to do a small addition, maybe 2,000 square feet, that doesn't trigger form-based code. So we tried to structure it based on sizes of buildings so that we still had a mechanism that if someone was getting into the 10, 15, 20,000 square foot realm, that they would be regulated. Doesn't mean that they have to tear things down. It just means their addition has to be code compliant to its possibilities.
So just so I understand, you came to the 10% number through working with the planners, and
10% was the original number. We've restructured that within the regulations, so it's tiered. I think there's 4, 5, 6 tiers to the expansions.
I wrote down more than the 10% is the expansion in the initial footprint, correct?
Just bear with me.
Jamie, where's that in the big one? The tiered thing?
So it's on page 75, where you'll see A, small letter I, 2 I's, 3 I's, and 4. So there's 4 realms for expansions. So it's not a straight 10%. We tried to structure it based on the size of the buildings. And again, it's not that you can't do it. It's when you have to start to look at code compliance versus non-code compliance.
So what you're saying is you heard the feedback on the 10% footprint, and 3AII and 3AIII and 3A4 is that newly updated.
Yeah, there were changes made to that section instead of just a straight 10%.
Thank you.
Which potentially could be less than 10%.
Correct. But if you have a 400,000 square foot building, the planning board didn't see how someone could add a 40,000 square foot building without even looking at the code.
So it prevents a significant modification from bypassing the application of the form-based code.
Correct.
I
But
think we should
allows some
reserve,
expansion.
I think we should reserve some of the substantive questions we have regarding the language of the form-based code to the public hearing. We are a little bit over the time allotted. I do just want to state one thing. I appreciate all the work that's been done on this. I know it's been a long time coming, and we've sort of been looking to get to this point for a while, a few years now. But I'm happy to see that we're getting close to having a public hearing and then really hear from the community. We've heard from the EDC, we've heard a little bit from the business community in Wakefield, Old Tower Hill Road, Kingstown Road, and I hope we continue to hear more from them because they're the directly affected parties with this form-based code. Now, one thing I'm just sort of, I don't want to say weary, but for lack of a better word, I'm going to say weary of application of a form-based code. We don't have form-based codes, so this is a new type of regulation that we could be adopting. And when we look at the draft of the code, there's words that explain what's required, and then it gives pictures as examples of what is permitted based on the words that are required under the regulation. Now, I understand the pictures can be used as a guide for developers. It should look something like this, and also a guide for the regulatory body, the planning board, to approve or deny a project. This is where the subjectivity comes in, and I'm just a little weary. I don't want the pictures to be the end-all, be-all as to you have met the written words that are required under the regulation, but because it is not fairly similar to the pictures, the examples in the draft regulation, or the final regulations if adopted, then they have discretion to deny. So I guess my question is, how has other towns been when it comes to application of form-based code? Does it have a lot of subjectivity, or is it helpful for a builder? I feel like that's a little gray area we haven't seen because we haven't had a form-based code.
So probably the short answer to that is potentially adding a page or two that shows what is exactly not acceptable. So again, I mentioned, most applicants have legal counsel, engineers, planners bringing their applications forward, and they're always reading the regulations. So if a building says it shall be no taller than 35 feet, for every 30 feet of building, you shall bump out a foot, then go for 20 feet, then you have to jog in 2 feet. I've seen very savvy applicants do buildings that look like mini, 3-story mini storage that adhere to all of the dimensional requirements of the regulations, except they're not cedar shakes, clapboard, stone, or brick. They are metal standing seam buildings or tilt-up concrete panels. And I think Planning Board has also challenged us to do a few photos of what is not acceptable. And I have examples from New England where developers had been successful in municipalities that haven't had the examples. I worked for a municipality for close to 3 years where they had a very thick architectural guideline, except their form-based code didn't reference the architectural guideline. Only their existing zoning code did. So there was a gray area in whether the architectural standards applied. It was an 80-page document that set forth architectural standards. We used it to enforce the form-based code. We were never challenged on that. But again, saying what is aspirational architecturally, if you tell a developer that you can't go to that tilt-up concrete, you can't go to standing metal seam as siding, you can't use some PVC, modern, we'll say urban, Boston-centric, Cambridge-type materials, you have to make it more coastal, Milltown, South Kingstown. Planning Board has asked us to do that. I have samples, I just haven't put it in a packet yet.
All right, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
We're going to leave it there for now. Look forward to talking about this more at a public hearing at a subsequent date. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry for the late start. Hope you enjoyed the work session there, but now we're going to dive right into the regular session. Today is Monday, June 8th. We're here for our regularly scheduled town council meeting. First order of business, as always, pledge of allegiance to the flag. Next on the agenda is the land acknowledgement statement. The town of South Kingstown pays homage to the indigenous people and land in which the town is now located. Let this acknowledgement serve as a reminder of our ongoing efforts to recognize, honor, reconcile, and partner with the Narragansett tribe whose land and water we benefit from today. Next, we have the roll call.
Council President McEntee,
Here.
Council Vice President Marin,
Here.
Councilmember Bergner,
Here.
Councilmember Alley,
Here.
Councilmember Wedgemont.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. It's going to bring us to item 4, approval of minutes of previous meetings. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 4A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to item 5, interviews. We're going to take up these interviews in the order in which they're listed on the agenda. First up, we have Richard Yunkin, application for reappointment to the Historic District Commission. Richard, come on up. All right.
You have to turn the mic on, push the button on the right.
Richard,
All right,
thank you
I'm
for
on.
your long service. It's a good opportunity for us to hear from you about what's going on at the Historic District Commission. Go ahead.
Oh, terrific. Well, it's great to be here tonight, and I'd be happy to share some of our projects that are underway. I think that there is some activity in coordination with the great festivities that are going to take place at 250th. That's ongoing with some of our members. We have been reviewing projects in the Kingston district. That's our zoning area, and that's our expertise in reviewing those projects under guidelines and standards. We've also been working on the Matunic project, which I think you're all aware of, that we did a survey of Matunic buildings, historic buildings in Matunic along the shore. And there is a goal to actually sort of get together with the people down there who own historic houses and help them in any way we can, in which they have already expressed an interest in going forward with some National Register nominations. But they need to know a lot more about how that occurs. And I think we're planning on doing some workshops on how you actually have a building listed in the National Register. That's a process that we can help people with understanding. So those are just some of the highlights. We're trying to work on the implementation of the comprehensive plan items that are in the historic and cultural element. And I think you've all been aware of those. There are a number of items that include working with other boards and commissions, including the Economic Development Commission. So we have continued to liaison with them, and I've been involved with the Main Street project, which you are aware of. Jay has been involved with that as well. And so I think that's a very positive thing that's going forward with our historic Main Street. So that's just some of the highlights.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Just a quick question, if you can. With respect to 138, is the Historic Commission sort of monitoring that progress?
Yes, Mr. Marin, we are. We fortunately were able to communicate with RIDOT through their Historic Preservation Officer. And he has included the Historic District Commission and I believe the town as a whole in monitoring that future project and allowing us to review and comment on the plans that RIDOT is putting forth for the changes to 138 as it goes through Kingston. And also, I think we've been included on anything that occurs further to the west of the district itself. And what they're talking about really is sidewalk improvements, some street crossing improvements, some details that we're interested in and we've already provided some comment on. And anything that comes forward that we can help the rest of the town with, we're happy to do that. If other folks come to our meetings or if we receive communications through the town staff from you all or anybody else. But we have sort of a corridor, we have sort of a line of communication now with RIDOT. And it's through that historic preservation aspect.
To the extent that the commission makes recommendations, I, for one, I think everybody in the council, if you could just sort of keep us in the loop on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we'd very much like to do that. Anytime that we can work with you as a team, we are just in seventh heaven. We really are. So keep that in mind on anything that you have any questions about, anything where there are historic properties involved.
Richard, I just wanted to say that I've really enjoyed working with you and learning more about you in the past 18 months being on the council. And I think that you're a great person to be on the Historic District Commission, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Thomas Routliff, application for reappointment to the Economic Development Committee.
Good evening.
Tom, welcome. Thank you as well for your service on the EDC. Another
Thank you.
good opportunity here for you to tell us what's happened at the EDC. Go ahead.
Well, our focus obviously is on economic development, sensible, reasonable economic development within the town. And that covers and touches a lot of things. There's been a transition that I've seen in the last 2 years with new members coming in. I welcome a younger audience too, with new ideas. And so that's taken us in the direction in the last year or so of trying to develop more data, specifically in surveying people in the town, people who work in the town who might not necessarily live in the town, and to understand commuting patterns, challenges to people coming into town, and that sort of thing. So there's surveys that have been completed. There are more that are works in progress, and that's one of the things. And as was mentioned before, the EDC has been involved for quite a while in this form-based code, which we see, the current members see, as the means of getting to that sensible economic development.
All right, thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Any questions? Go ahead.
Hi, Tom, how
Hi.
are you?
Good, thank you.
So you have 2 vacancies on the commission as well, right? Is that accurate? Just making sure.
I believe so, based on the last meeting, yeah.
So just simply, why, if anyone's paying attention, would they want to join you in your work? Can you maybe do like a 30-second commercial about why?
Sure. So again, it's economic development. We get involved in trying to increase employment in the area, to support businesses. That includes new businesses, to get a feel for how the future is going to play out. You know, we've got AI out there. There's so many different factors. And it's really good because the team now is very, very diverse. I mean, it covers, in terms of age and experience, a very large variety, or very wide variety of experiences. And that's helping us too. So anyone who's interested in joining, please let us know.
Also, could I just follow up? When do you think you're going to share with us some of the results of the survey that you did in the fall?
It's probably, yeah, it would be the fall.
Oh, you did it in the fall and you're going to
No, I mean, I'm thinking this coming fall.
Okay, I thought you did one.
Yeah, we did, but there are other surveys that are in progress.
Okay.
And, you know, some of the initial surveys, you get questions back and it raises, you know, additional questions. But it's interesting because it provides data as opposed to assumptions as to barriers that might be in place affecting migration into the town.
Yeah.
And we all know that there are cost pressures, the cost of real estate's high, but this tries to get to the next layer on that.
Great. So would it be safe to say that we should invite the EDC to come in the fall and
I think the timing
present?
I think the timing on that would be good, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after sometime between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, is that what you're hopeful for?
I think that'd be perfect.
Does that sound fine?
Yeah.
Can you do that for us, Jim?
Yes, Tom, just send me an email when you're ready to present, and we'll get you on the agenda.
We'll do.
Awesome.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Tom, before you go, last question. I already know the answer, but the EDC was unanimous in supporting the town council adopt the form-based code as a mandatory regulation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, next up we have Matthew Fraser, application for reappointment to the Recreation Commission.
Hello, Council.
Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you as well for your service.
Yeah.
And good opportunity to hear from you. What's happening at the Recreation Commission?
There's always a lot going on at the Recreation Commission. As you know, we have in our purview is all of the public parks in our town and the ball fields and the various athletic fields, the neighborhood guild, which has the Knapp School of Music, which has been running since the late 1800s, I believe. It's having a very successful run right now. They're like, way ahead of their projections. There's a lot of young musicians in the town, and we have some big projects. The new bathrooms and stuff over at Old Mountain Field, which we ran into some trouble with because of we had to get a new transformer from the power company, and that took a while with Rhode Island Energy. But we're looking forward to having everything ready for the 4th of July, the 250. The people that work there, Terry Murphy, the head of the rec department, and Rex Eberly, who's going to be retiring on July 1st, who's done such a great job for us for so many years, and Lenka, who runs all the programs. I think I'm about 16 or 17 months on the commission now, and it's just a great group of people, and they work so hard, and they're working so hard to make sure that people in the town are getting a great value for their tax dollar. And so many of the things that are lovely and enjoyable here are our parks and places, the town beach, where people can meet up and have community events. Just, it's really great people there. Good things going on.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
Any questions for Matt? All right. Thank
No
you.
questions? Come on. I have a question.
You have a question?
Go ahead.
Can I take a peek out that window? I've only been here at night, and I just
Oh, sure.
I just want to see the view.
Matt, I don't have a question, but I was so glad to see that you stepped up and joined the commission. And as you said, our Parks and Rec and our commission do a great job, so it's not a question per se, but thank you for reappointing yourself, or ask for the reappointment.
We also have a vacancy. Sean's last meeting was this past meeting, so I think we do have a vacancy opening up, and I can say that it's a great group. Joanne, and Will Livin, and John Hanson, and the people I mentioned before, just nice people to work with, important work. So if you know anybody that wants to get involved. All right?
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you so much.
All right. Last up as to the reappointments, Benedict Igagneri, application for reappointment to the trustees of the South Kingstown School Funds.
Good evening.
Benedict, welcome. Look forward to hearing from you now about your time on the committee. And more specifically, are you seeing things in the markets that the average person is not seeing? Go ahead.
Well, to answer your first question, I've only been on this committee about 15 months, and I was appointed because someone resigned. When I got there, most of the heavy lifting was already done. And I had very little input into that because just oversaw the changes that the committee had made as far as asset allocation and so forth and so on, the technical stuff. What I'm concerned about is that there's $27 million in this South County School Fund. $24 million is for the Guild. That's a separate issue. $3 million is for schools and scholarships. And last year, we gave out $1,200 in scholarships in 2025. One $1,000 scholarship and a $200 scholarship. To me, that's an injustice. All of the money in the account cannot be used, like I like to say, in one big pot and distributed. There are 9 different accounts, 8 of which are for schools, for scholarships and school maintenance or supplies or however. One of them goes back 300 years. Another one was put together in 1915. The intent of those monies is different today than it was then. Our solicitors looked into it, and he said it's a high benchmark to get them changed.
But still, I think $200 out of $3 million is an injustice. My concern, as I've spoken to the town manager, the finance director, I think this needs to be changed, and I'd be glad to work on a committee that looked into that. Because I don't know if it's the council's obligation or the school committee's. It's a fuzzy area for me, so if I stay on, you'll hear from me again.
All right, but you do
We
wish to
want
be
to.
reappointed, right? That's why you're here? You
I'm
wish
sorry?
You wish to be reappointed, which is why you're here tonight?
That's why I'm here tonight.
Okay. But before you go, any questions from council members?
I just want to thank you for bringing that to our attention and to say that I'm certain that we would like to, dive into that a little bit further. That seems like could be a significant help to our community to rectify that in some way.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
I don't either, but we can figure it out.
And Benedict, we've had several conversations with our solicitor about
We
the
have.
Cypress doctrine, which
Yes.
is the ability to modify a trust. You need a court order to do so.
Absolutely, but there's $3 million. Maybe we can spend a few $100,000. I don't know what it's going to take.
Well-
But even if only $1 million was available out of the $3 million, because there are some that specify different types of degrees that someone could get at a college level. Even if there's only $1 million, 1% is a $10,000 scholarship. 2% is two $10,000 scholarships. You take out 3%, it's three $10,000 scholarships, or six $5,000 scholarships. I mean, anything is better than $200. You can't get from Providence to URI in a month for $200.
So the Nancy Brown Memorial Fund is one of those funds, correct?
Which one?
Nancy Brown Memorial Fund?
It's not one that I'm aware of.
Where's Brian? We've had this conversation before. Some of them are, one of is for the Wakefield School, which doesn't operate any longer. Another one is coming up.
I think before we get into a substantive discussion as to the funds that are under the purview of this committee and potential modifications as to the restrictions and how the income or principal can be used or applied to certain things, I think we're going to have to add this to an agenda at a subsequent meeting. I think it makes sense to do that, but I don't think it makes sense to dive into this during the interview here. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and I believe it's sort of starting something for us to look into further and really find out from legal counsel what it is that we have to do to expedite that if possible. But thank you.
That's my only point. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have two more interviews. New persons looking to be appointed to committees. We have Cherry Chun, application for appointment to the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, or in the alternative, the Conservation Commission. And if I mispronounce that name, I apologize.
Cherry actually withdrew her application as of last Friday. We did notify her that it would be kept on hold in the town clerk's office on file for a year per the boards and commissions policy, so if she changes her mind, we can have her back for an interview.
All right, it's going to bring us to the last interview. Donald Ruggieri, application for appointment to the Conservation Commission. Donald, welcome.
Welcome.
We appreciate your interest.
Thank you for having
It's
me.
a good opportunity for us to hear about you, your experiences, why you want to be on the committee, why you think you'd be a good member serving on the committee, and if you've been following the committee meetings at all, maybe some of the challenges ahead for them or some of the successes they've had over time. Go ahead.
So I haven't been following the committee meetings until recently. I've had caught up on YouTube a lot on the Conservation Commission on what's available there, but it seems to have gone defunct pretty recently. But anyway, so I'm passionate about conservation, and now that you're merging it with the sustainability, I'm even more passionate about it. I'm a local business owner. I'm a lifelong resident of South Kingstown. I have a master's degree in conservation biology and a second in soil science. I'm a member of the Southern Rhode Island Conservation District Board and a member of the Conservation Commission and Sustainability Commission at URI. And I'm also hoping to get on this one because I believe that being on several of these similar boards can help align our goals. I'm a big proponent of protecting forests, farms, and open spaces. I'm currently also getting a PhD in ecosystem ecology with a focus on forestry. And I'm also a farmer and a landowner, and I'm very passionate about teaching youths of the benefits of sustainable land management while also supporting local farmers, small-scale farmers, and micro producers. Yep.
Where is your farm and how large is it?
So I have 2 sites currently. I have one in North Kingstown where my main operation is, because I'm in the process of converting it all to South Kingstown. But I have a 10-acre farm in North Kingstown and a 25-acre piece of land in South Kingstown that I'm establishing currently.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Don, thank you for applying to the Conservation Committee. You're a lifelong South Kingstown guy, as you said. I've known you for almost 3 decades now. You know the land, you know the sea, you know the air.
Absolutely.
I think you'd be a great addition to this commission. And Emily, did we keep the Conservation Committee? And then we phased out the Sustainability Committee, right?
Did we take a vote to do that? I don't recall.
Yes, we did.
We did?
So just
Yes.
for clarity, he is applying for the Conservation Committee, not the Sustainability Committee, which
okay.
is
Yes.
no longer a functioning committee.
The information I found online must have not been accurate.
We'll try to update that, Don, but the scheme of it is you're
Yes.
a great candidate for this committee.
I'm qualified for both, I believe. So yeah.
Yes,
it
sir.
works.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Donald. Appreciate your interest.
Thank you.
All right, it's going to conclude our interviews. We're going to move to item 6 now, appointments. Do I hear a resolution?
I make a resolution to reappoint Richard Youngkin to the Historic District Commission. Do you want to do them as a group or all together?
You can do them as
I could do it all together. I make a resolution to appoint Thomas Routliff, reappoint to the Economic Development Committee, Matthew Fraser for reappointment to the Rec Commission, Benedict Inghinieri to the trustees of the South Kingstown School Funds, and to appoint Donald Ruggieri to the Conservation Commission.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? My only question for the clerk is that when we dissolved one of the 2, the conservation, the sustainability, we gave preference to the existing members on one of those to apply by a certain date.
Correct. That date has already passed. It was 90 days from
Okay,
the
okay, got
date
it.
of the vote.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's now going to move us to item 7, the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to bring us to item 8, licenses. A is a resolution granting Class F 19-hour beverage license to South Kingstown Chamber of Commerce doing business as Southern RI Chamber of Commerce of Old Tower Hill Road, Wakefield, for the Taste of Southern Rhode Island event to be held on Thursday, September 24, 2026, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Clark's Farms, Commodore Perry Highway, Wakefield. Application by Joe Veely. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. So this will be our 14th year for this event. I think most people are fairly familiar with it based on the way tickets sell. But it's at Clark Farm, I think September 24th this year, 5 to 8, I believe. It's just what it says it is. We have 32 to 35 local restaurants, distilleries, breweries who give the community a taste of what they have to offer. The Chamber of Commerce coordinates the whole deal under a big tent. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So do people have to line up at like midnight to buy the tickets?
That was my question.
Mine too.
When can we buy a
When?
ticket? And can we get midnight?
To be determined. But
Oh.
you will have to line up at midnight, yes.
Okay, good, thanks.
It's either,
It's recommended.
And Joe, is it a 2-night event? I remember it's a 2-night.
No,
It's
no,
a 1 night?
no sugar.
We reserved 2 nights last year, but this old fox can't do it 2 nights in a row, so.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, next it's going to move us to item 9, public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on any matter, I invite you to come on up to the podium. We just ask that you introduce yourself. We're going to limit it 5 minutes. When you begin speaking, this timer will begin counting down. You can use it as a way to sort of gauge yourself. With that said, first come, first serve. Come on up.
Mr. President, could I just recognize that my auntie from Pennsylvania is in the audience, and she came up from Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. Hi, Auntie Doty. So.
All right, welcome. Bob, come on up.
It's a sad day when I have to get up by myself.
We like you to go first.
If
Bob.
anything I've tried to do is encourage more people to come, and we have had a lot of public comment in the last few months or year or so. I want to just say I was sitting here and listening to these people that are devoting their times and effort to the community, and just the categories: historic, economic, education, recreation, conserving our environment. I don't know how you can't be in every town and see how they all work, but I know one thing for sure: this town has some unbelievable people in it that I wish I could measure up to their devotions. I'm sort of discouraged. You know why I've come? I mean, I've come for years, but the last few years, we have a situation in the country, and I don't know if anybody caught Meet the Press. I didn't, to be honest with you. I missed it. Not that it's anything I'm that crazy about anymore for some reason, but the president of our illustrious country was the guest on Meet the Press. I hope some of you saw it, and you could be uplifted by his unbelievable, crude, and inappropriate way of dealing with an individual that's he's interviewing or being interviewed by. But what scares me, and I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, and I'll probably be saying it as long as I can. What scares me is there are still a lot of people listening to this gentleman. And I guess if you have money in the stock market, you could say, boy, he's not doing anything. Corporations are doing that. The president isn't making our lives more prosperous by keeping the stock market up, believe me. The destructive activity in the last going into more than just a few months now, if you think of how many dollars have been taken out of the average person's wallet just to get to work and back. When I just listened to something on PBS before I got here on the SNAP program and what's happening with that because of regulations that are being put in place, many people that really need that program are unable to figure out how to travel the paperwork in order to get in. They've dropped, they just can't do it. And someone was speaking to that on the program. I mean, it was a pretty savvy person. So, you know, a lot of people think, I shouldn't say, I don't like to use generalities like that, but some people feel that, people on these kinds of programs are, milking the system or something like that. But I think that is far less true than true. It might be true in a few instances. Another thing that was brought up recently too, there's so many things on my mind right now, I'll be honest with you. What have I got, a minute? Well, if anybody listened to 60 Minutes this year, one of the things that really drove it home was the discussion about the building of tankers in the United States, which is about zero now. It's as close to zero as you can get it.
China builds many per day. They build them per day. It's Korea building them. And what was brought out is that it's actually a problem for us. Well, that's only one part of the main problem. And we have been living off the rest of the world for cheap items for years and years, and we still are. But it's going the other way a little bit. And when other countries develop and get better, the squeeze is not going to. They're not going to be able. The corporations aren't going to be able to go any old place and just get their products made for nothing, practically. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to stop.
Good to
Thank
see
you,
you,
Bob.
Bob.
All right. If anyone else in the audience wishes to speak on any matter, I invite you to come on up.
Hello. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to speak now or later. My name is on the agenda, or my property. Is it okay to speak now? Okay.
Yeah, you should speak now.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring up a couple points. One, that no official complaints have been made or requests about my property or the way I maintain the farm through zoning. I don't have any official documentations. I feel like there's been an invasion of my privacy. There are people taking pictures from inside their houses of my property, and it's been posted, and I'm hoping they're not going to be shown for everyone in the world to see, because I don't think it's appropriate. I would be happy to address any concerns about the farm. If somebody were to submit an official request, I'm happy to make adjustments. I want to be happy with my neighbors. I want to have a happy relationship with them. And I think I'm in this situation that I'm kind of getting picked on because they are not happy with the outcome that they received regarding the high tunnel. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows, like, I haven't received an official complaint, and I don't know. That's my main thing. And I think we're a right to farm town, if I'm correct.
We are.
So I'm protected against nuances about odors, noise, and general farming practices. And I'm allowed to farm on my land, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So some of these questions will be answered and taken up by our solicitor
Okay.
when we get to
Yeah.
the town manager's report. We have
Okay.
something specific to that.
Okay, sure. So I just want to say that I love living in South Kingstown. I love to have the property here. I farm because it helps me with my stress. I've been really stressed out lately because of these issues. I have lots of people come up to me in the community and are grateful for the little farm stands and for the flowers in my yard. And I've done a lot of work to improve my property since moving in there. We've put thousands of dollars into landscaping and fixing our yard slowly. I am a working mom, pretty much doing it on my own or with friends that come by and help me. So, but I am happy to address any issues that I need to.
I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask. I just want to make sure everyone's...
I mean, we're going to move up the town manager's report right after this public comment section, so we
Okay.
can dive
That's-
right into it. But
Sure.
before we
Okay.
just go to that,
Yeah.
I want to give others in the audience an opportunity
Absolutely.
to speak.
Could you also just state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Trisha Lorenco Boucher, and I'm a resident at 134 Rodman Street in Wakefield.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on, while
Yes.
you're standing there,
Yes,
could I ask you, you have a state farm license, correct?
correct.
Okay. Does that have any qualifications on size? Does the state?
No. The state, I have a farm number
Yep,
through
you're
the
fine.
USDA. There is no requirement on size for my farm. It's just how much we've made in income.
Mhm.
The state and the USDA have two different requirements, both of which we meet.
Okay.
We are also GAP certified, so we practice good agricultural practices on our
Okay.
farm. We've been inspected, and we have an NRCS grant. We have a state grant from the Rhode Island DEM, so we're recognized as a farm throughout. Yes.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
So I heard one of the concerns was about traffic, but where do you do your CSA deliveries? At the VFW?
We deliver to their houses, or
Okay.
this time we met a couple people at the VFW to avoid any potential traffic at the house. So
Okay.
we made other arrangements.
Because
Who's
you're
work-
affiliated with the VFW.
Yes, I was the VFW, the leader
Right.
a couple of years ago. Yeah.
So if there were potentially a traffic issue, you have an alternate location to which to meet people and do all of that, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We have made the arrangements for that, yes.
All right, thanks. I didn't know if you were going to be able to come back up and speak again, so I wanted to ask a couple questions that I
Yeah.
had about those concerns.
There was a concern about traffic, and
Yeah.
when I saw somebody parked not in a great spot, I actually went to them immediately and helped them and made sure that it didn't cause a problem.
Okay.
So
And then, are you talking about your greenhouse? Is
the
that-
high tunnel, yes.
Is that what that,
It's called a high tunnel. A greenhouse is typically has glass sides. It's heated, and you don't grow in the ground. This is classified as a high tunnel because it's not permanent.
okay.
It has plastic sides, and it's not heated, and we grow in the ground.
And so you've met all zoning, Jamie Gorman said you're in the
Yes.
right location in your
I
lot?
called Jamie several times before erecting the high tunnel and during the high tunnel process to make sure that we were meeting all. Yes, thank you.
All right,
All right,
just making
we're
sure.
going to pause
Thank
there.
you.
We appreciate your input. In anticipation of that item, I'm going to request that the solicitor or clerk print out the memo from the solicitor with respect to the item on the manager's report. A copy for each of the council members. Anyone in the audience wish to speak public comment on any matter? Roberta, come on up. Is it privileged, Amy? If it's not,
I didn't label it privileged.
okay, then certainly yes. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? I invite you to come on up. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on. At this point, I'm going to move up the town manager's report. And I believe, because of what we just took up, we'll move right to item 12C. And I would like to have a hard copy of those memos from the solicitor's office printed out so we could review it as we get advice from the solicitor as it relates to the regulation.
Also, so when I don't know, my things. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that Tricia also got a copy of the
While we're waiting, and to allow for circulation, we can take up some other manager items.
So there are 4 items on there. We have a South Kingstown High School and CCMS athletic facility design and construction update. We have representatives from Left Field, the School Building Committee, and Gilbane. We could take that first.
Is that long? Is that quick? Or,
All right, come on up. We have representatives from Gilbane. We have the chair of the School Building Committee. We have representative from Left Field. And we have Phil Conti.
from Studio Jade.
Good evening, everyone. Give me one moment. I'm going to log into the AIR team and get our presentation shared.
Oh, thanks.
All right. There are 3 items as part of our update for this evening. The first being update on solar panels for the new South Kingstown High School. And the second being South Kingstown High School, just general update as to the progress of the project, an update on the progress of the Curtis Corner project as well. So with us tonight, we have Phil Conte, We also have a representative from Newport Renewable, which is a Wakefield-based business we've been working with them just to understand incentives that are available for the project. What are some of the parameters in order to qualify for them? What are the deadlines and timelines in order for us to qualify them? Which is why we want to make this presentation to you tonight, to be able to inform you of the next steps that we're going to be taking, which is our recommendation to get some proposals for safe harboring of the project for solar in order to secure our position with the federal incentives that are set to expire at the end of next year. So I'll hand it over to Phil to go through a little bit more detail on that, and then we do have representatives from Newport Renewables if there's any more in-depth technical questions that the council would like to ask.
Great. Good evening, everyone. I just want to remind you that there are right now two incentives, a federal incentive and a state incentive for solar projects for nonprofits like at schools to receive up to 40% reimbursement of the project cost. That is a direct payment to South Kingstown that would come approximately 6 months to a year after operation. Recently, I did a project with Stewart in Little Compton, if you wanted to reach out to them and see how that's working for them. There's also a $75,000 one-time payment from the state of Rhode Island, and that's application-based multiple times throughout the years. We would apply for that approximately 3 months after operation of the system. Where's your page down? Oh, gotcha. Thank you. So what are the requirements for the federal incentive? Well, the project must either be complete and operational by December of 2027 or safe harbored by July 3rd, 2026, with a completion by December of 2030. Safe harbored means that you are committing 5% of the project cost in material purchase. That would lock you in to the reimbursement. And you'll see how this plays out throughout the schedule. Oh, I think I might have gone back one. So what are the opportunities to add a solar array to the top of South Kingstown High School? Well, it certainly emphasizes sustainability. It's a renewable energy source. But I want to be very clear that the intent would be to offset utility cost. This is not a way to achieve zero energy costs. This is to offset cost avoidance. If you look at this graph, the blue bars represent an average of what is anticipated to be the electric consumption. The green curve is the estimated amount of solar generation. So you see there is always a gap. The ideal situation is to have that as minimized as possible. But I just want to be very clear that this is a way to offset energy costs. So the incentives right now, they are significant and impactful. With the incentives, we would estimate a payback of approximately less than 10 years. Without these incentives, up to 40% reimbursement, the payback could be greater than 15 years. You should know that the life cycle of the solar photovoltaic systems is about 25 years. So why would you do this? It's based on the assumption that the cost of electricity will rise, and you want to offset that cost, but it's also prudent to be mindful that the electrical demand of the high school will vary and is unknown because the building is not operational yet. So there are a number of assumptions going forward. We do know we can fit about 750 panels on the roof, generate about 450 kilowatts of power. We would anticipate that the estimated cost of the system plus utility connections would be in the neighborhood of about $1.5 million. Estimated incentives would be about $500,000, and again, the anticipated payback is approximately less than 10 years. A couple things to keep in mind: that this is not part of the GMP with Gilbane and the new high school, and we would not recommend this to be a subcontractor to Gilbane. And why is that? Is because we cannot guarantee that the solar system could be operational by the end of December 2027. Although I'm confident the high school will absolutely be on schedule, it is not possible to bring in a third-party vendor until the project is complete, which does not give us enough time. We expect a 3-month duration for the installation, but more critical would be the amount of time for the utility to do its interconnection and complete the system and make it operational. Therefore, we think this would be a third-party entity that would come in and do the installation after you have possession of the building, certainly be able to complete before the 2030 timeline. So we are coming with a recommendation. If there is funding and an appetite to do this, we would recommend proceeding with a solar installation project, at the very least to offset the utility costs and to obviously pursue the federal and state incentives, which means we would be suggesting that you exercise the safe harbor path forward, which is a commitment of 5% of the project costs. We think that would be up to about $80,000. And that would be for the purchase of typical building components that would be used for the system. And then we would issue an RFP for the complete solar system installation. Sure.
Just one item to note, the safe harboring costs that we'd be looking to move forward with, we'd be looking to procure off of the master purchase agreement for pricing that's been negotiated with the state. Just to be able, from a time perspective, with how time critical this is, we'd be looking to procure that $80,000 roughly quote. I think it is going to be a power optimizer. That's the system that we'd be looking to put together for that. It is a non-proprietary system, so it can either be sold back or it can be written into an RFP for any vendor to be able to utilize that hardware. So that the entirety of the system will be written as an RFP. It'll go through the public procurement process. But one of the most important points I want to stress tonight is that quote will be coming at our next town council meeting, and it will be procured off the master purchase agreement.
Just a couple more slides to make sure you're aware of the risks associated with this. So let's say we moved forward with the safe harboring, but you elected to not proceed with the complete solar system installation. As Kate mentioned, we would have to return the building components that we purchased with a restocking charge and likely a slight financial loss. What are the risks if you do decide to proceed with a complete solar installation project? Well, the federal or state government could default on their reimbursement. Production may be lower and consumption may be higher. Payback may be more than 10 years, and the utility cost offset may be less than anticipated. I do not have an answer for any of these items, but it was important for me to share that.
Thank you.
So what are the next steps? As Kate mentioned, finalize the costs for the safe harbor path forward. Present that to you on June 22nd. Then develop the RFP for the complete solar installation, and that would be based off a number of factors: cost, warranties, what their financial performer would look like, their experience and references, and then come to you in the fall of 2026 with those results. I'm happy to answer any questions. Kate?
All right, thank you, Phil. Good.
Phil, with respect to the chart on system opportunities, you're showing a constant usage of what looks like about 135,000 kilowatt hours, January through December. There's no variation for when schools in session are out.
Sure, that's an average that we ended up using, and being mindful that this building is fully electric, heating and air conditioning. So depending upon how the building is used will impact the consumption. But this was our estimate of about 135 kilowatt hours per month.
And the estimate is flatline
Correct.
because of the nature of the systems?
Correct.
Okay. When you talk about, and I get the presentation with respect to safe harbor and why you're trying that approach, a couple of questions on that. It's not possible to have Gilbane finishing its work and a provider for the solar working at the same time?
So Gilbane and their roofing contractor, they hand over warranties once the building is substantially complete. They are not going to warranty the building with another contractor that's working on it.
Did you say damn those lawyers? Okay. Second, with respect to the 5% project cost, you're talking just about the cost of the solar project itself, not the project?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
And you said the life cycle for the system once installed is 25 years?
Yeah, that varies by component. That would be one of the elements that we would ask for when we go for the complete package, because the safe harboring, we're just buying one tiny piece. There are many components to the whole system.
All right. And back to the system opportunities chart, I get the variation between January, March, June, August, October, December. Is there any way to quantify what contribution it would amount to? Percentage of total utility cost or dollar? I'm not looking for you to tell me what Rhode Island Electric is going to charge in 2 years, but...
So this is going to be really difficult for us to quantify at this stage for several reasons. The first being we have an estimated cost of what the system is going to be. We don't have any hard numbers. Okay. So without having that, without having actual production data, without having actual utility consumption data, it is very difficult to provide those estimates with any level of accuracy.
So if the council chooses to move forward somewhere later in the process, you should be able to narrow that down some?
Yeah, we'll be able to, once we get final costs on the system in the fall, when we have the RFP for the full system, we'll be able to do a little bit more of an in-depth analysis. But for anybody that has solar panels on your own home, you know that the analysis you got from the solar salesman fluctuates quite a bit. And it's, it really is, it's solar generated, so it's based on Mother Nature.
And the funding source would be the owner's contingency fund at this point?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Just want to say thanks, Phil. This was very clear. I think anyone who even airdropped themselves in to hear this would understand what you're asking of us, and it makes a lot of sense. I think I'm in favor of doing the safe harbor. It makes sense. I think it's wild card as Rhode Island Energy. You can't bank on the fact that they'll do it in 3 months. We had someone talk on the Rec Commission about just the utilities, and the transformer at Old Mount Field was a hang-up. So I appreciate you guiding us the other way, because I think safe harbor is a safer path.
Yes.
Thank you.
A few questions just to clarify. So we're looking at potential 40% reimbursement federal government plus $75,000 from the state of Rhode Island?
Yes, and I want to say up to 40.
Okay. So when looking at potential total costs incurred before any reimbursement is sought, 5% would be 80,000, so 1.6 million is what we're looking at as projected estimate cost for this?
That's our estimated cost, and as Kate mentioned, when we would go out for the RFP for the complete system, we would have an accurate number.
Yeah,
like
just
be in that
assuming
range.
that is the number.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The potential amount that we could get reimbursed is 640,000 plus 75,000. So let's just say 700,000.
Yes.
So at a project that potentially costs 1.6, we'll get a net cost of 900,000.
Yep.
Yes.
And then as part of all this, we'll likely receive reduced energy rates and more sustainable energy over
I
a period
can't
of time
speak
with
to the
useful life.
reduced energy rates. All I could say is you will have a path forward to offset utility costs, because you'll be producing, but you will also be consuming. And what you'd want is to try to get them as close as you can.
Okay. So in a market where energy costs are rising year to year, we're hoping just to reduce that increase to an extent by the amount of this sustainable energy that eats into the increase per year, so to
Yes,
speak.
it's a path forward for cost avoidance.
Okay. Now, going over to the safe harbor, when we say 5% committed, so 80,000, what is committed? Enter an agreement, pay an amount of money?
We would be seeking a purchase order from the town, not me, the vendor would be seeking a purchase order for the town for, what right now, we're saying approximately up to 80,000 for them to procure this, the power optimizers that we were talking about, so that it is registered as a project that has been locked in and eligible for the 40% reimbursement if it's completed by 2030.
Okay. So that's entering into an agreement to purchase or acquire parts?
It's actually just to purchase 5%. So once
Okay.
you buy the material, you are locked in, and then, as Kate mentioned, we would go to RFP, and that vendor that has ended up being selected will already have these pieces, and we'd say, here you go, we're already locked in, this is one of the components that you'll need, here they are.
Okay. And when we talk about the potential financial loss as a risk of this, selling the materials at an amount lesser than what we paid for it, is that, assuming 1.6 is the amount we pay to proceed, right? We would foresee if there is any risk of loss by not receiving any reimbursement, we would sell it back at an amount equal to the 1.6?
No, I'm
All right,
only
walk me through
staying
that
at,
piece.
sure. We come back June 22nd, we say, this is our vendor's cost, it's $77,000. You would say, okay, lock us in. Our vendor would buy $77,000 worth of power optimizer. South Kingstown is locked into the federal reincentive reimbursement, and we'll wait. We'll develop the RFP, we go out, we get pricing back from 3 or 4 vendors, but you said, you know what? We changed our mind, we're not going to do it, thank you, no. Then I'm going to say to you, well, we have $77,000 worth of power optimizers. Would you like us to sell them back? And you would probably say yes, and you may get 1 for 1. I'm just being conservative and saying there might be a restocking charge, so you may lose a little bit on that.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with the major project. Once you commit to that, then you are proceeding.
Got it. Okay. Good.
So you have said a couple of times that it's up to 40% reimbursement from the federal government, and as there may be some degree of uncertainty about that right now, I wonder if you can tell us if there's been any sort of backpedaling on those types of federal incentives at this point from...
So I think it might be good if I ask Stuart to speak to that, who's obviously in the industry. He could certainly speak to that a little bit better.
But while he's walking up here, it's up until 2030, so the administration will change in 2028.
Your
So-
mouth to God's ears.
So
Yes.
it will change, so it can't be the same people, so that's another
Hello.
piece of it.
Stuart Flanagan. I'm a resident, 59 Old Post Road, and actually a local business owner. We're in the old Riverbend Athletic Club, owner of Newport Renewables. So for the federal incentives, the reason Phil's saying up to is because there's a 30% federal tax credit that's been around for quite some time. You're wondering tax credit, nonprofit, we don't pay taxes. As part of the Inflation Reduction Act, there was a provision to make it a direct pay incentive for nonprofits, schools, municipalities, et cetera. So there's a 30% base and there's a 10% adder for using domestically sourced materials. So a 30% tax credit or grant is great. If we can get an extra 10%, why not? It also is all US made material if we're pursuing that extra 10%. So that's why he's talking about up to 40%, because the selected bidder may propose 30%. They may elect to use non-US sourced components. Any smart bidder would probably try to go for the extra 10% and get that 40% grant direct pay incentive for the school.
Nice.
But this is actually a program that is part of the recent legislation, so we're not in any danger of losing that. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say there's no danger. I can't predict the future, but it is something it hasn't gone, since the new administration.
Okay.
There was this kind of phase out, like residential solar tax credits were phased out in December of
Yes.
2025, whereas commercial was given this runway. And it's been this way in the industry for a long time, where it's always going to expire at some point, and then it gets kicked out further. So in this case, as Phil spoke to, it's to the end of 2030, with this safe harbor provision. And it all varies based on sizes of projects. In this case, we're well below that threshold where the safe harbor is an option.
Thank you.
I just wanted to echo my colleagues. This is a very good presentation. I think it's super simple, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about this on the June 22nd meeting. Thank you.
The only thing I would add is that we've helped schools and other nonprofits actually get this before. So it's not just something hypothetical. It's something that's actually used. We've done projects for 15 schools and helped at least one, as Phil has alluded to or spoke to.
Excellent. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Kate.
And there's more.
I'll just go through our brief project update. Oops. All right, here we are tracking along our red bars. You can see we're getting close to about 35% complete as we're moving along with construction of the new South Kingstown High School. Mark, do you want to give us a quick rundown of the 4-week look ahead? We'll go through some pictures and then we'll keep moving.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So I won't go through this line item by line item in the interest of time, but I'll give you the kind of 30,000-foot overview of it. So what you won't see on here, right, is steel, because that is complete. So big milestone for us there. What you won't see on here is any of those big major concrete pours that we were talking about earlier, because those two have been completed.
Yay.
So knock on wood for that. So a couple of big milestones there. So we're kind of moving out of that whole concrete steel and moving on to the exterior envelope. So a lot of those line items there will get into the envelope piece of it, which is your exterior walls, your sheathing, your air and vapor barrier, which goes on the sheathing before you put on your brick. Brick is going to probably make it onto its way in the last of this month in early July. So that'll be another improvement for everybody to take a look at. So the building's taking shape. Roof's going on, exterior envelopes going up. We've started some interior framing on the academic tower. So interior, we may not be able to see that from the street, but inside the studs are going up, the plumbing's going in, the overhead MEPs, ductwork, electrical and whatnot are going in as well. So that's kind of it in a big nutshell. I mean, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, but
I noticed recently the fencing has gone up around Curtis Corner. Do we have a date for the start of demolition? I've gotten some questions from residents.
So that one's not us, but I'll defer to Kate on that. That one's not us.
So abatement is ongoing. We are looking in probably the next 4 weeks or so to begin the demolition process. We've gotten about 40% way done with abatement and air clearances. They're moving their way around the building. Once we get air clearances throughout the building, we'll be able to apply for the demolition permit. So about a month.
Kate, if there are any flags at any of the school properties, I heard that there's still some American flags around. So if there are, could we collect them and get them to Tiger Patrick so that we can dispose of them properly?
Yes, the Curtis Corner is completely empty at this point. We can.
It's Wakefield School. I think it's Wakefield School.
The Wakefield School, okay.
Not your
yes.
project. That's a town project, Patty.
Yes.
It's Wakefield.
But when it comes to South Kingstown High School, we will.
Wakefield.
We will.
I wasn't quite clear I thought they were talking about Curtis Corner on that, but wherever.
Yes, yeah, the Curtis Corner is completely cleared out at this point, but we will make sure to make note of that when we get to the demolition portion of the existing high school.
So Jim, is it possible for your staff just to ascertain if there are any flags in Wakefield School?
Yes, my staff can look at that.
Thank you.
Kate, I've asked you this question a bunch of times. We're still on time and under budget? We're on budget?
Yes.
Excellent
Very
news.
healthy in both regards.
Lovely.
You want to talk through some photos?
Yes, yeah, I can go through some pictures real quick. So as I mentioned in the update, the left photo is the roof going on the academic tower. To the right, you'll see the exterior studs and the sheathing that I had mentioned, which form the exterior walls going on. I'll let Kate move me ahead. A couple of concrete pour on the inside. That's kind of one of our last, there was our last major concrete pour. So that's good for the neighbors, the abutters. I want to thank them for everything that they put up with. But I think our late nights are now over, as that was the last big pour. So.
Awesome.
The one on the right is the elevator shaft. The elevator shaft, I didn't mention that earlier, has been completed as well. So the elevator is ready for the guts and components of it, but the shell has been built from the first floor up to the third. And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, the only other item that I will add is we are bringing back our vibration monitoring. We're going to be doing some site work where the new faculty parking lot is going to be. It's where the existing contractor parking is on the rear of the site closest to Branch Street. So we'll be raising the grade. We have to do that in several levels. It does include vibratory compaction, which is a disruptive activity to a lot of our neighbors. So we are going to be bringing the vibration monitoring back. Just to note, it does monitor for structural interruptions, does not necessarily account for the human experience of vibration, which can be pretty disruptive to people who experience it in their homes.
And that's during regular hours?
It is during regular hours, that's correct.
What's the reference to the July 4th required site lighting?
What are you saying? The July 4th. Oh, yes. Yes, the
a
site
little
lighting.
ESP, Kate.
Thank you. Yes, and the site will be lit on July 4th. That was a request of the police department. We do not want anybody utilizing the beautiful vantage point that is the top of the high school. So we want to make sure that it is very well secured. So just for everybody's knowledge.
Though we could have a great fundraiser if we got people up there. No, I hear ya. So no unexpected anything so far. This is all expected moving forward. The concrete pours were the only thing because of the weather, but everything else, no impact by the weather, the wind, anything to change or slow down anything, right, Mark?
Nope.
No.
No, as Kate mentioned, at our last cost report, we were on budget, and at our last schedule update, we are on schedule.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I feel like 35% seems like it's nearly done. In my mind. I drive by, it looks amazing.
Pretty much, just a couple things left. Just a few.
Just a furniture install.
And then for Curtis Corner, just a few visuals. The green is where all of the abatement and air clearance work has already taken place. Yellow is currently ongoing, and then white is still remaining.
Okay.
And then for anybody that saw Curtis Corner before we took it over, this is a pretty dramatic difference for what it looks like now. This is after all of the clearance and abatement work has been completed. And you can see down the hallway again.
I feel like the cafeteria did look like that when I was in there, so.
Any questions?
No.
All right.
All right.
Thank you
all very much.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Mark. Thank
Have a
you,
great
Phil.
evening.
Going to continue on with the town manager's report.
So we can bring up the update on the proposed amendments to the town's zoning ordinance related to farm stands.
The council now has a copy of my memo, and I apologize that you didn't receive it last week. It is a relatively brief memo. Most of the memo is a cut and paste from the ordinance because I wanted the council to be able to see the regulation that the memo analyzes. I tried to answer a simple question, which is how are farm stands regulated and permitted under the zoning ordinance? The memo is not on any specific property. It's not an investigation. It's not an opinion into is a farm stand allowed, not allowed at any specific property. But I'll give you the bottom line of the memo. Based on my reading of the ordinance, my opinion is farm stands are allowed on farm property where the farm contains a minimum of 5 acres of agricultural operations. If a farm wishes to maintain a farm stand and doesn't have that minimum 5 acres, they can apply for a special use permit. So the ordinance provides that relief from any of the requirements is available by special use permit. So there is an avenue, in my opinion, for a property owner who has a farm less than 5 acres and wants to establish a farm stand to make that application to the zoning board, and after a public hearing, the zoning board can determine whether a special use permit is appropriate for that specific property. If the council wants to revisit that 5-acre minimum, which was put in place about 20 years ago in 2006, when, as Attorney Mulholland stated last time, the zoning ordinance was amended to add some significant regulations regarding farms and farm stands, farm events. I think the intent, as Attorney Mulholland stated, may have been to allow kind of larger, more traditional farms to do more. But when the council adopted those regulations, they defined 3 categories of a farm: a small farm, an intermediate farm, and a large farm. So separate from the question of whether farming is allowed, what right to farm is and isn't, my opinion is that a farm stand is allowed on property where the farming operations, the agricultural operations, consist of at least 5 acres. And a property less than that would need relief in the form of a special use permit. Any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Good.
How can we go about changing it so that it's not 5 acres? I mean, that seems like way too much.
Yeah, so, and I put a note at the end of the memo that it's the council's policy decision to make, but if you feel as a matter of policy that 5-acre minimum should be changed or eliminated, you can direct the planning board, planning staff, and legal counsel to work on amendments to the zoning ordinance that could eventually be presented to the council and reviewed at a public hearing.
I would be in favor of that.
Good.
You had once said, all legal advice is a matter of opinion, so I appreciate that you provide yours. I don't necessarily think that the town council in 2006 was addressing any people selling their farm products, because from 2006 to 2018, we had a town manager who probably was very well aware of every egg stand and flower stand. I mean, even in my conversations with Jim, he sees them. We have never stopped that. So I can't imagine that this was the intent of 2006 to prevent that. What I think of it is, when I read your memo, it even references farm vehicle as it says farm stand. You could be, and I thought, oh, isn't that the farmer's daughter where they have the antique vehicle? I think it was intended so that if you were going to be a destination place, like I think of the farmer's daughter, I think of Clark Farms as places where there's lots of events and things like that. So that's what I think that was trying to organize, and not the person selling eggs or flowers or even vegetables. And then that's one thing. And the second thing is, I live on 0.9 of an acre. Do I have the right to create gardens all over my property and grow vegetables? I think that's what the right to farm says. So so are we addressing the retail part or just that?
I didn't get into the other aspects in the memo, including protection for plant agriculture under the Zoning Enabling Act and what right to farm means. only because I wasn't sure if the council was up for a very lengthy discussion, because there is a lot to the topic. The short answer is yes, planned agriculture as a use is permitted in all
zones.
residential zoning districts statewide. And as to your first point about no history of complaints, I agree. I'm not aware of any. It is zoning enforcement, as you know, is complaint-based. So it may be that this issue has not come up before because there have been no complaints.
So I'm happy to support Patty and try to change whatever we need to change, but my question is, how are we empowered to allow this to continue? Can we have a moratorium on enforcement? Is that what you're saying? Right. So I think that's the point, is you hear from the community that that's part of the fabric of why everybody likes to live here, is these little farm pop-up stands and things. Maybe some people have more advanced operations or not, but how does the council, simple question, how do we do a moratorium on any enforcement until we work this out through planning, if we have to?
I think the council can provide that direction to the manager, and I've also I don't get to direct the manager, that's the council's job,
Right.
but I've suggested that we hold off on enforcement of farm stands while the council is looking at this issue.
So Amy, would a resolution passed by the council to that effect be enough to direct the manager to, I guess, issue or declare a moratorium as to enforcement of the current regulations related to farm stands?
Does it have to be a formal resolution, or could it just be?
It does not have to be a formal resolution. I think that can be done by informal consensus. You know, councils in general typically don't get into enforcement moratoria in general, but I think you can provide some guidance and direction to the manager and staff on this issue.
Good.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Oh, come on. There we go. I'm not sure I agree with that part of it. In preparing for tonight's meeting, what I had drafted was a two-part resolution. One, a specific moratorium of any enforcement actions against farm stands, together with a referral of the memo to the planning board, because I think we need to have a discussion. When we discussed this at the last meeting, one of the things I had asked about was, to the extent that there's a gap in our current regulations of the town, I need to know that. I'm not an expert on farming by any means, or farming regulation as imposed by the state. And when I read the memo and the ordinance, it struck me, number one, as a little bit circular. There's a presumption that if you have a farm, you have at least 5 acres. A lot of people don't, especially the people who have farm stands. So that part of it didn't make sense to me. When you include the definition of a farm stand, and I thought farm vehicle was something a little different, it makes it even more confusing. I think the intent of the council, if I'm reading right from the meeting 2 weeks ago, is that we're not looking to prohibit people with farm stands who are just growing on their own property, because, you know, if you have 0.9, if you have an acre and a half, you're only going to grow so much. Maybe you're going to make it a business, maybe it's a weekend hobby. And then, excuse me, sorry, I lost it. I had one other point to make. I'll come back to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Amy, I appreciate your legal advice, because I'm not a lawyer, so I just want to let you know that. I thought this was very well written with you and your team. So I think counselors, hi everybody, counselors, rest of the team, hi. I think that a very simple thing can be done here. I think we could recommend to the planning board to work on a micro farm, right, less than 5 acres of the designee, because we have farm that are large, intermediate, and small. Is that correct, Amy?
That's correct.
So I would like to make a motion to recommend to the legal counsel to find a new update to this as a micro farm, less than 5 acres, so we can continue to preserve the right to farm tradition in South Kingstown while also maintaining the semblance of normalcy in neighborhoods.
Would it be simpler just to say if they have a state farm license, rather, because...
I made a motion.
Why? Well, there's nothing to be voted on in a town manager report, so... But we don't...
I'm so sorry, but I made a motion, and normally it's that you have a second, and that
All right.
process happens.
It's not,
Is there a second?
we can't take a vote on this item.
We can take a motion anytime a motion is made, so we can take it up.
Not advertised.
We're at the manager's report here. Amy, do we have the ability to take up a motion with respect to an item on the manager's report?
This is on the manager's report as update on proposed amendments to the town zoning ordinance relating to farm stands. And as you know, there's a communication item that relates to a farm stand issue. I think tonight you can do, you can give direction. In other words, it's not on the agenda as something specific, so you can refer a matter that's not on the agenda, as you know, to an appropriate body or official. In this case, I think it's an appropriate motion would be something like refer the matter of zoning amendments relating to farm stands to planning board and legal counsel. I know they've got a meeting tomorrow. I know the planning board has a meeting tomorrow night. I'm sure this won't be on their agenda, which is already posted, but the planning director's here. Obviously, my office is aware that this issue is coming up, and I think the planning board can work on this, I'm going to say, over the summer, and be back to the council with proposed, and your question about what's a simpler way to do, there's a number of different ways that this could be amended. You could strike the regulation entirely.
Right.
I think that's appropriately left up to the judgment of the planning board and planning staff to determine what makes sense for South Kingstown in 2026. In the interim, again, I've suggested, and I think I'm hearing from the council, you agree with an informal enforcement moratorium. I don't know that there's a need for any formal resolution on that. I think there's also an avenue open for a property owner to apply to the zoning board for a special use permit, and if they want to a clearly established right to a farm stand.
Go ahead.
That was actually the other question I had for you on the farm stands is, how many special use permits has the planning board granted to farm stands?
I am not aware of any applications before planning or zoning specifically on the issue of farm stands. I'm aware of applications over the last 10 or 12 years on farm events. Yeah. Just on this issue of whether a farm that's less than 5 acres can have a farm stand, I'm not aware of prior applications.
Because I go back and say I don't think the intent was to stop someone from putting vegetables on a table and saying, pay what you can, take what you need, or whatever it is. So I just don't think that was the intent of that.
I got a question sort of specific to that. I want to dive into a little bit of this ordinance that we have here. So, as to the definition of farm stand, it refers to the sale of farm products, and farm products is a defined term within the regulation. Mm-hmm. Also, farm stand, it looks as though to be a farm stand, you have to sell at retail, meaning you have to offer your products for sale. And farm products means essentially products that are enumerated in the definition here that are grown on that land by which the farm stand is also set up on.
Well, the regulation itself acknowledges that farms have always been permitted to sell their own produce. That's inherent to the use of farming. You grow it and you sell it. The regulation, from what I understand and from how I read it, was intended to confer additional property rights on farmers and farming operations to sell products not grown on the premises. But when the definitions of small, medium, and large farms were adopted, I'm hard pressed to say that a farm has clear rights to do any of those activities if it doesn't meet the town's definition. It's not that farming is not a permitted use if it's not 5 acres. It's just this ordinance that, again, grants additional rights. I think in defining it so specifically, there may have been a gap left on what we can call micro farms, smaller farming operations.
But if something were set up sort of as a farm stand, but it didn't sell those products, it just said, take what you want, that's not considered a farm stand under the regulation because it's not for retail sale. Is that correct?
Correct, they'd just be giving it away.
And that would be permitted as of right?
I think it would.
So once you start to offer a price or say, take what you can, pay what you can, then it becomes potentially retail sales?
In
Okay.
my opinion, yes.
Now, Mike Maron touched on it a little bit, but how does sort of the state regulation or state agency that issues certain farming permits intersect with our local regulation?
There are a number of, DEM maintains a list of farms for purposes of notification to farmers. And if the council at some point chooses to put out to public notice zoning ordinance amendments that affect farmers, there's a list of farmers in South Kingstown that we would have to notify. There's also, I think, a farm retail sales permit separate from the DEM, I'll call it certification, that might not be the right term. But again, plant agriculture is permitted by right, whether you're a farmer or not.
So is there any aspect of this that is potentially preempted or occupied by the state as far as regulation, such that whatever's here may not be enforceable by the town?
I don't think it's unenforceable, no.
Okay, so there's nothing in conflict, essentially?
I don't think there's anything in conflict.
Okay. Because if someone has a permit issued by the state to engage in retail sales of farm products, so to speak, I'm not going to say it's a defined term, but then our local ordinance says you can only do retail sales if you're a farm, which is defined by at least 5 acres, that to me seems like conflict. In which case, state would preempt local ordinance.
Right.
I don't think the issuance of a state sales license, whether for farming or anything else, preempts local zoning. I think,
Okay.
I
So
think
the
we have a
permit,
right to zone.
the state issued permit essentially would only be effective provided you meet the local ordinance.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
I just feel like when you read through all the definitions, that this was set up for people to host a wedding on the property. You know, like it was to help sustain farmers, develop other streams of income. It wasn't to stop someone from growing vegetables on their property and then doing anything they want with them. I understand about following parking and all of that, but like, I think I kindly and respectfully disagree with your interpretation that it limits that any farm has to be 5 acres, because I could be doing that. I could be doing it myself, get a farm number, sell $2,500 worth of goods anywhere at a farmer's market, which they may be doing. I just don't understand why. I think that council, and I think for sure Kathy Fogarty was a member. I don't know, I don't think Carol was. Was Carol McEntee on the council in 2006? So, I mean, we have people to legacy even ask what was their intention. It doesn't make sense to me. Neither one of those people would be against farming and expanding. The interpretation does not make sense.
But I think we need to keep in mind, it is not intent that passes, it's the legislation or the ordinance that's written that they vote on and approve that passes. So it's up to us if we think we have different intent or we want to abide by
I'm just pretty
an
sure
intent that we don't
egg
think was
stands.
established,
I'm
we
sure
can make
had
changes.
egg stands 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I feel like we're
100, right?
just really overcomplicating
Yep.
something that should be very simple. We have heard that the intention was not to do this. We've heard testimony from Attorney Mulholland that told us that this was not, and we certainly know that the world has changed a lot in 20 years. We know what the situation of the world is. We need more food, more local food, not less. If it were up to me, I would give tax credits for victory gardens in the front yard. You know, this is what we need in our community. We don't need to be splitting hairs. I mean, I appreciate all of the great, legal advice that we have here, but I just don't think that we need to overcomplicate things. And I would really like to just do what we can to resolve this problem for, people that have less land. People do that now. You know, it's a different world and we need it. So I would like to
Move it along. and Give guidance to the town manager. Right.
If I can go back to the original point on the moratorium issue, if it doesn't need to be formal, fine, then a motion to direct the town manager and staff not to enforce at this point with respect to farm stands and refer this ordinance to the planning board to give us specific recommendations on how best to deal with farm stands that are consistent with state law. That's what I think we need to do.
Do you need a recommendation or a motion?
Recommendation.
Do we need a motion?
You need a motion in order to direct the planning board, planning staff. So yeah, I think if that was phrased as a motion, that's in order.
All right, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second. Any discussion? I got a question item for you. With respect to the ordinance, I mean, to me, it seems like a simple way is to add additional classifications of farm. You already have 3 classifications. If you add additional classifications, you could potentially fit in more of these activities or persons or property owners by which this could be permitted instead of not permitted.
That would be a very simple way of solving the problem.
Except if if a small piece of property has open farm day and 500 cars come, it's a different story than Clark Farms doing their summer market or farmers store. They can't have the same menu of options that are permitted for some. There's no parking. If somebody has 25 cars show up on my street, it would be bad. It wouldn't work. So you can't give them the same.
Which is why we need legal counsel to work with the planning board and the planning department to come back to us with potential revisions that make sense.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Any more discussion?
Yes. Amy, just a quick question. Article 12, this is in the ordinance, correct?
Yes.
All right, so it's just my personal opinion that if the planning board recommends a farm, parentheses, micro, with the definition of agricultural land of at most 5 acres in area, together with principal accessory buildings upon which agricultural operations are conducted, would probably be the smartest way of getting rid of this, but that's just my opinion. Not smartest, most efficient. That's just my opinion. That's all. And secondly, as I'd like to later on talk about, I made a motion, nothing happened with it, I was spoken over of, and, I think that we need to follow the procedures if a council member makes a motion in the future. That's it.
Okay,
That's the last of my
Amy,
discussion.
Procedurally, when someone makes a motion, there's a lack of a second, that motion fails. It's treated as if no action. We then move to another motion, a second. We're now about to take a vote on it. Any procedural issues in that circumstance of events?
I agree, Mr. President. All I'm going to say is the question of is there a second was not asked for a future reference. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We are going to continue on with the town manager's report.
There are 2 remaining items. I'll get into the first one, an update on the Moody's bond rating for the town. So I'll just give you a brief overview of what I've spoken about with Brian the past few days, and then any specifics you can ask Brian. This town is very fiscally sound. We have a strong tax base, and it's reflected on our in a fairly low debt service. So we managed to get a AA1 bond rating again from Moody's, which is a very positive thing for this town. Last year, there were only 5 towns in the state that had that, and we were one of the highest because we had the lowest debt service. So we're very strong in that regard, and we're very pleased that we got such a strong bond rating for this town. Second thing is that the bond anticipated notes that Brian spoke about so much, that is enabling us to build this school, this high school, but just paying the interest that the state has allowed us to do that, obviously. So we were estimating at the early onset of building, when we were starting to plan for this school, once it was approved by the voters, the bond anticipated notes, bands, were calculated at a 3% cost to the town. That was the interest rate that we would be charged on the bands. The good news is that it has gone down, and Brian noticed that it was going down as of April. So the number we locked in for this next year of bands is 2.592. I think Barrington had a 2.598, which was they're in a similar situation as us, which means we saved $225,000 in interest this year. Brian had already taken out the $200,000 for the. He doesn't miss much; he catches everything. So, but he came back to me just a couple of days ago and said it's even a little better. It's $25,000, even more than that. So the $200,000 we accounted for in our budget, we already took it out, but there's $25,000 that's left in there that would just go into a surplus or whatever else, right? So Brian works very, very hard on keeping his town fiscally sound, and it shows every time we get rated. So if you have any questions for specifics, Brian's right here.
Well done, Brian.
Good job, Brian.
We love you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Just a quick question. So you anticipated that we were going to need an additional $225 in interest. We didn't need that. That money went where?
So within there's a lot of iterations of the budget. Within the preliminary adopted budget, the interest expense for the year was $200,000 higher, and the use of fund balance from the debt service fund was $200,000 higher. Through our budget adoption process, we lowered the interest expense by $200,000 and the use of the debt service fund balance by $200,000. So we were able to save that $200,000 for future years when the expense goes up.
So is the answer, the money not used is in the debt service fund for the school?
That's correct.
Just following. Thank you so much, because it's not in an empty pot, it's in a designated pot to provide tax relief to the future payments to the people.
Yes.
For the people. Thank you.
Yes. FY 27-28 is when we're going to have the that bond payment really hits. So again, anything we have in that fund will help defer that. So we got another $200,000 in there.
Thank you.
When do we next get evaluated by Moody's?
Likely the next evaluation will be a year from now. So the rating we just went through, we will be the town will receive let me back up. The town will be signing on the bond at the next council meeting, June 22nd. The town will receive the funding on January 25th. $55 million will go to paying off our year one bands. $45 million will come to the town. And next year we would likely be doing another bands for an amount not known yet, but to pay off the $100 million and take out the money we need to finish the project.
Okay.
So sometime right now we are planning for the end of June, but if things get accelerated, we can move up.
But the 20-year bond will be one more year out from that.
6 months to a year after that, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, the interest rate, is that just with respect to the bond anticipation notes?
That's correct.
So when it comes down to issuance of the bonds, we'll be looking at a different interest rate, hopefully lower at that time, but
Hopefully
we'll
we're
see what
staying where
happens.
we are. That would be great. But yes, this is for the 1 year. We received that Moody's does a rating system of MIG 1, 2, and 3 for short-term bonds. The town received a rating of MIG 1, same as last year, which is the best available. It's considered superior, and that is again for the short term. So that is for this year. When we go for the full 20-year bond, we'll be evaluated on the same bond rating system that we've been given for all of our existing general obligation debt, where we're AA1 right now.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Brian, one of the things that I really enjoyed was when the bond lady came in. And that was super, the bond council came in and educated us. That was very informative. So if at some point in the future she could come back when we have to do this, it was a great learning experience for me, and I think other people might find it interesting.
Cashback. Cashback bonus.
The plan will be for her to be at the next meeting, before the meeting.
Great.
Oh, good. So next meeting?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
I just wanted to point out, because our town manager, Jim Manny, says it all the time, but our employees save us so much money, and this is just an example of the hard work that you and your team are doing, Brian, to save the taxpayers money. Keep it up.
Thank you, Brian.
The last item is a discussion, a quick discussion, an update on the town's irrigation ordinance. It's not an easy thing to describe. I mean, Veolia has some accounts, town has accounts, and people have private wells. So a letter did go out, a flyer that was directed by Rich Bourbonnais, our Director of Public Services, and there was supposedly a little bit of confusion on it, so I asked Rich to come in, put it up on the screen, and address any concerns anyone has.
Good evening. As you know, we received an approval here for this irrigation ordinance. I guess it was approximately maybe a month and a half ago. We immediately prepared a flyer to go out to all of our service, all of our services, the owners of all those services. There's approximately 3,000 of these flyers went out. We updated our website to include a lot of information about the ordinance. There's a link on the card to that website where people can find out even more information. Our GIS coordinator, Tracy Owens, she developed a couple of layer data sets there that can show you exactly where the overlays are, and you simply type in your address and it'll pop up in whatever zone you're in, and you can see it that way. We've given links on the website to the ordinance and provided any other pertinent information to make the transition a little easier for people. Were there any specific questions though because I can talk about where we are as well.
So I think I'm the only person who got the postcard, because maybe I'm only one of those customers, right? Patty's on a well. I don't know what everybody else has. So I read it. It is very confusing, and it's a very simple change. I didn't know it was coming out. Really, if I'm the Tuesday, Friday watering, it should say, you are District 2, these are your watering days, please refer to this website, this thing, so you can learn about the ordinance. Because when you read that, if you scroll to I still honestly have no idea. I think I'm District 2, but it says District 2, I can't read that from here, but it says, I can't read that. Use of sprinklers. Can you read that? Anybody? I can't read it.
Rich, can you read it out loud?
It says use of sprinklers for lawns.
Okay.
But it doesn't
all right,
say.
okay.
But if you look at the map, this is my part. Just hang on for a second.
Yep.
It tells you. Go back to what I'm supposed to read. Scroll down a little bit. It says irrigation map 1 east of Moonstone Beach Road, and irrigation map 2 east of Saugatucket, dark
West.
blue. See, it says dark blue. So which map are you looking at? Map 1, map 2? Are you District 1, District 2?
Just to let you know, it says west.
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 It's very confusing. I don't know where I am, and if I don't know, and my neighbors don't know.
Rich, can you just walk us through how to interpret this? You open this up, you got no knowledge of the ordinance, you read this, how do you figure out what is applicable to you and what dates? Go ahead.
Do you understand it?
All right, well, first of all, these maps the maps are graphic in nature on this card. Okay, we don't expect people to be able to find their home on that card. Okay, so what is really meant here is that we're hoping that people go to the website and the ordinance, because that's where much of the information is. The point of the, the point of the mailing is to let people know there's an ordinance. When I was in here, I specifically said, this is not meant to be punitive, right? We're looking to just get some control on our irrigation. I am not looking for another revenue stream,
I know that.
right? So the point is to let people know that there's an ordinance out there, and that it is to help reduce the excessive irrigation that we're seeing. You are limited to 2 days a week, all properties. If you are, map one is South Shore.
Right?
Right,
I think that's me.
it is you. Well, because you're not Veolia, you don't get a Veolia bill. So you're South Shore, so you're map one. So District 1, irrigation map 1, west of Moonstone Beach. Irrigation map 2, west of Saugatucket River, right?
But you see how
District 2,
it says dark blue and light blue and light blue.
right,
All it really needs to say is household, my address, you are district, whatever. Please refer to them. There probably should have been 2 mailings separated out by Tuesday, Friday, and Monday, Thursday. I wasn't part of the planning, but like.
well, so there's 3,000 that went out.
Correct.
When ordinances are, so we have an ordinance that was discussed tonight with regard to downtown. So, well, we don't make them specific to properties. It would be excessive on staff time to sort it.
No, it's a spreadsheet. 1,500 are Tuesday, Thursday, and the other 1,500 are whatever the other 2 days. It just, to me, it's not clear, and it doesn't tell you if you. I looked at the map, and I know which map I am, but then it references colors, which are the same on both sides.
Okay.
3 people looked at this besides myself and said, I have no idea what it is, and it's not straightforward. So all I'm saying is, it's the same amount of work to send 1,500 as 3,000, because it goes to a mailing house, and it could just say, you are District 1, or you are days 1 and 2. Please refer to this page for the ordinance. I appreciate all the hard work that got done to create this, but
It has to be generally applicable. You cannot ask him to send an individual letter to each individual address.
You don't
so
ask.
I don't think it's our purview to direct Rich to do that.
Rory.
But as it relates to this, the
I
notice that have been
appreciate you
going
trying
on.
to understand it, but I'm just saying to you,
I have
it's 2
questions
sets.
for the
It's just 2
director regarding the
mailings.
ordinance and the feedback and the implementation of this. Is this now in effect? Now, Rich, have you been hearing from persons who've been receiving the notice?
12.
Okay, so they're
3,000
calling.
went out, we heard 12. There was one very, very good one, and I want to tell you about it because it was really good. It was an older person that came in, and I don't know that she uses the computer much. She's in Veolia's district. Now, at the time she came in, Veolia had only sent out a voice at that point. Now, they have since updated their website. They have not sent out a mailer. The reason for that, there's a couple of reasons. One is that they have a much different corporate structure. It's difficult to get anything approved when you have that many levels. It has to go nationally for them in order to get approvals on making the simplest change. It's ridiculous, but that's what they have. And so they have that issue. They also had an issue with Narragansett. Narragansett only just passed this ordinance maybe a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. So their website references both South Kingstown's website and Narragansett's website, because those are where the ordinances are. You know, they're not with Veolia necessarily.
Whose website are you talking about, Veolia or Narragansett?
Narragansett and ours, I'm sorry, did I say Veolia? And our website, oh, so Veolia, I'm sorry. Veolia has their website up, okay, and they reference our website, which is what's up there now, which is the irrigation ordinance, where you can go and you can click the maps and you can even see your address there, or find your road or whatnot, and it gives you plenty of information on how to go to the GIS.
Have you got
They-
any questions from residents as to how do you interpret this document that I received? I don't understand it. Have you got anything to that effect?
Yeah, 12.
12 have said essentially that?
12 people have called and said that they just wanted clarification on a couple of things in their square.
That's a
Okay.
lot.
And that's been effective?
Out
So
of
you
3,000.
So you open the letter, you don't understand it, you call town hall, and then they feel more informed, okay, now I understand it.
Then they're fine.
Okay.
So we have begun notifying people as well. So we sent out 40 notices on Friday due to Wednesdays, they were, walking through Wednesday. They were just watering on Wednesday. And what we did was, it's a warning, strictly a warning. We're going to mail out 30, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday regarding the weekend. We're doing a little bit targeted, so we're targeting Wednesdays and weekends right now, and then we'll move in, if things get even drier out there, we're going to move into the weekday targets, the Tuesday, the Tuesday, Friday, or the Monday, Thursday.
So, Rich, you've given us feedback that there's 12 people that have reached out to you and said, hey, I'm a little confused about this. On our website, in case a baker's dozen wants to ask you about it, can you put a phone number for someone to call so maybe they can call and say, hey, I'm a little confused about what's west of Moonstone or what's west of the Suckatucket? Maybe we could add that on the website?
Well, it's on there.
Perfect.
So it's got my name, it's got the office phone number, who to contact. I included also Bonnie's name, who's our water administrator.
You're missing the point, though.
Anytime there's, actually, I'm just finishing
You're
up.
missing the
Anytime that
point.
there's people that have feedback that they're confused, I think it's definitely important we address it, so.
So
Go
my
ahead, go
point
ahead.
would be, in the future, it is very possible to do a sort of a spreadsheet and send one set of 1,500 labels to the mailing house, because this wasn't done in-house, and the other 1,500 for the other thing. And people could know from a card, you would clear up all the confusion if the card went out to 1,500, you're the Monday, Thursday, and you're the Tuesday, Friday. That's all. It doesn't say it on the card. It is, if you read the instructions, it talks about a map and a district switching, and the same colors switching. So it is confusing. You didn't get the card. You're only seeing this. This doesn't make sense if you're holding a card. Trust me.
Okay, I'm going to tell you from experience with these types of mailings, with road plowing, and when you send out very targeted mailings like that, you are opening yourselves up we're opening ourselves up for even the modest mistake. And then you're going to clarify later on when the watering's not right and all these things. It's easier to have people. This is my opinion.
We can just.
I'll tell you next time.
We can
Next
talk
time
about
we'll discuss it a little differently.
Can I ask a
But
question?
I'm just telling you that in the past it was a bear of a problem.
Fair. If we send them to the website, is there a way for me to enter my address, 17 Brown Street, wherever I live, and to say I'm this district and that district? Because that's
So-
not available to the person either, right?
If you go to our GIS,
Okay.
okay, and you type in an address, it's going to take a second here, but.
I just wouldn't know how someone would understand.
Well, we actually, on the ordinance, we explain exactly what to do. Go to the GIS, type in your address. I'm going to type in this person because I know this person. So it goes to that address. When I select the address, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn on the layer. I'm going to go layers. It explains this on the website as well. I go to infrastructure, water irrigation restriction areas. I turn them on.
All right, Rich, I'm just going to speak from experience. You with intricate knowledge of how the GIS works, you know how to get to what you're looking for here. I'm going to go on a limb and say the average consumer is not going to be able to easily access this information as you just showed us here.
Okay.
So either we, A, improve the link to the website to add additional, instructions or clarity, or maybe ease by typing an address, tell you what district, or B, we have to figure out a way to re-notify, because this is already in effect, this ordinance, and it seems likely that there's a large number of property owners out there who may not be aware of it.
All right.
And ignorance of the law is not a defense, as you know.
Well, but again, we're warning, we're just warning it. Okay, go ahead.
That's the problem. You're
Go ahead.
putting the horse before the cart before the horse. When we talked about enacting this new ordinance, this is a new thing for the town.
That's right.
And that's part of the reason that we spent so much time talking about it's educating, it's not trying to enforce, it's not a money raiser. But the first thing that we have to do, and it's our obligation, is to give people notice of what's expected of them. That piece of paper doesn't do it. I have neighbors who don't know what a QR code is, okay?
Right.
Much less, I would have trouble navigating the GIS system, but I'm firmly stuck in the 20th century. But there's a lot of us in this town that are. There has to be a way for a postcard to go out and say, South Kingstown has enacted a new ordinance for water conservation. You're in District 1 or you're in District 2. This address. That means on Tuesday and Thursday, water your lawn. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, don't. It has to be that simple. We're asking for something very new here, which puts a higher burden on us to let people know before they run afoul of it.
I greatly appreciate you understanding. There needed to be 2 postcards, one for each district, and to say, if you have questions, call this number, go to this webpage. Because at the end of the day, I looked at that card, I talked to my neighbor, and I'm like, I don't know, I actually did the ordinance, and it's not clear to me. I still don't know to this very second. I think I'm Tuesday, Friday, but I'm not really sure. I just don't water. That's my solution. But yeah, I just don't water. But I think that I know a lot of effort went into the maps. I do think it's possible, and an address label or anything to say, Deb Bergner, District 2, my address, wherever, so people would know. It's just not clear.
Is there a way you can do that, Rich?
Yes.
Is there a way that this link can be synced with the GIS somehow, that once you take a picture of the QR code and it takes you to this site, there's a box that says enter your address. And you enter it and it tells you what district you're in. Is that a possibility?
I'd have to talk with the GIS coordinator to see if that's something that can be done.
If so, that seems like an easy fix to add some great information to the link.
To the website, yeah. I mean, and we can add anything to the website. That's why the QR code goes to the website. But if we want to avoid the website altogether,
no, we like the website. That avoids.
Well, I mean, but you suggested that we are specific to properties to tell them when they're watering. Okay. It's just going to take, that just takes a lot of effort, but that's what we'll do.
I mean, I wouldn't paraphrase the ordinance. I don't think you can do that.
I don't want you to paraphrase the ordinance. I just want you to say, Deb Bergner, 345, blah, blah, blah.
Doesn't even have to say the name. Just type in the address. It tells you what district, and then it tells you what regulations you're subject to.
The postcard is addressed to me, so they already have done a sort to the mailing house of who's getting the postcard. For South Shore, you can further refine that to do this is not hard. When you send out a political mailer, you may not send it to everybody. You might send it to someone who votes versus someone who doesn't vote. There's a way to sort data. It's not hard. We do it all the time.
So Rich, how about this? By the time of the next meeting, you can have hopefully a solution to this that you can show us and walk through and demonstrate to the public at that meeting the fixes or how to easily identify what district you're in, and then what days you can water, what days you can't, how the regulation applies to you.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich. All right. It's going to bring us now to item 10, public hearing. Item A is a public hearing relative to an application for a license to keep and sell alcoholic beverages in South Kingstown in accordance with the general laws of 1956 as amended as follows. Class B limited liquor license, transfer of a Class B limited liquor license from Rachel's Cafe LLC, doing business as Rachel's Cafe, of South County Commons Way, Wakefield, by Carlos Tavera, owner, to Rachel's Cafe RI LLC, doing business as Rachel's Cafe, by Samrat Yogi, owner, for the dining and counter areas, and as further defined in a site plan on file in the town clerk's office. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. So tired today.
So this one here is pretty self-explanatory. Sounds like new business taken over at Rachel's.
Yes.
And you need town council approval for the transfer of the liquor
Yes.
license. All right.
Yes.
And as to the business, continuing things as are over there or changing things up?
No, nothing changes at all. Just the ownership changes, that's it.
Okay. All right. Yep, keeping the same name, it looks like.
Yeah, same name, everything same, yes.
Nice.
Just
nice.
the LLC changed, that's all.
Congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to ask anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this item specifically to come on up if you're interested. All right, seeing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the public hearing is now closed. We're now going to move to item 11A, a resolution. Oh, hold on, we're going to take
Hang
up the
on.
public hearing in 1 sec. Item 11A is a resolution affirming the town's liquor license rules and regulations, Section 1. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion to affirm the number as listed on 11A. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to bring us back to public hearing item 10A. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve item 10A.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All
Now
right,
you're-
it passes. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Is this the procedures?
Thank you.
All right, before
It's
we
my
get
first
to, oh, you're all set?
You're all
Good luck.
Thank you.
Before we take up the rest of new business, I believe there may be some members of the audience who showed up. Communication item 14A, an email dated June 3, 2026, from residents of Rodman Street in opposition to the approval of a farm stand and expanded agricultural operations in the neighborhood surrounding Rodman Street. So if anyone is in the audience who submitted or signed on to that email that was submitted, I invite you to come on up. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Tara Henricks, and I've been a resident of South Kingstown since 1985 and a homeowner since 2017. On behalf of my household, as well as many Rodman Street neighbors, we would like to be clear that we don't have an issue with the farm stand itself. And as well with not supporting local agriculture. Our concerns are really about the ongoing issues neighboring residents have already been dealing with over the years due to a growing agricultural business in a residential neighborhood, which happens to be dense, and the overall impact on those of us living directly beside the property. I also want to respectfully clarify that many neighbors have raised concerns directly in the past regarding things of which we've written about, as odors, flies, parking, and a rooster. So these concerns are not new to the homeowner. They've been addressed, but not actually communicated on. We believe that there should be clearer zoning guidelines and oversight for grow structures such as a high tunnel of the size it currently is allowed on the farm to help balance small agriculture with the quality of life surrounding the residents. That's kind of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
All right, I know a few persons signed on to that email that was submitted, so if there's any other persons here tonight, I invite you to come on up. Just push the button on the right.
I think she turned you off.
Hi, Nick Orm, 122 Rodman Street, Tara's husband. I agree with her 110% on everything that she said. This morning I was woken up by the rooster at 3:30 in the morning, which is ongoing constantly. I know I sound passionate right now, but I am really fed up with the whole thing. As Tara mentioned, this is not about the farm stand. This is about the yard. This is about all of the trash that we pick up every single day. This is about piles of trash These are things that people are not seeing. People are not seeing this at all. And it's just really, really upsetting because the picture is painted that we're these ogres that are against this farm stand. And it's like this cute little thing. And it's like, the farm stand looks fantastic from the front. I have to say, it looks great. But when you see everything from the back, all of the neighbors that are in a circle looking at this, all of us that complained, that is actually not their property, by the way, it's her mother's, but this is all stuff that we've been dealing with for so long. So I just want to clarify that this is not, the farm stand is not the issue, it's the whole property. And if we give them rights to do this, it's going to be a nightmare. And if we let people do these small, micro farms or whatever they are on 0.45 acres of land, I don't think any of you guys would want to live next to this. We're considering moving. We already had a neighbor that did move. And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there could be potentially others who signed on that email. Okay, thank you. Any thoughts from council members on this?
I'd like to have the letter included in the referral to the planning board.
Second.
So.
We'll take a motion to that effect to ensure that it is.
Sure. I mean, we did hear from the solicitor, assistant solicitor, that agricultural farming is allowed in all residential zones, so anybody can create gardens and grow, correct, Amy?
Correct. Plant agriculture is permitted in all residential zones statewide, and in South Kingstown, more specifically, the zoning ordinance says crop farms and livestock farms are permitted in all residential zones.
So this particular farm is 0.45 of an acre, and it's in R10 zoning. So it actually is larger. This lot is larger than the other lots around it, potentially, if it's R10?
I haven't looked at all at any specific property.
Is R10 zoning 10,000 square feet?
Yes.
And what is 0.45 of an acre? Is that half of an acre? So 40,000? 22 to 25. So it's twice as large as what it's zoned for, correct? She has a double lot? Yes. Right? So it's a double lot, which could be subdividable, right? It could be subdividable. There's some zoning changes. You could have your neighbor subdivide that lot and build a duplex on it, probably by right? So there's other changes that, people are used to one sort of view, and it could change over time because a different owner, if that owner sells, that's a double lot, it could be divided. You can come back.
Would you want to live next to all of that?
Sir, if you're going to make a comment, you have to come to the,
I'm just asking,
Well, where I live, I do hear a rooster where I live too.
Is it right next to your house and you wake up in the middle of the...
If I have my windows open, it is not near me, and it's probably, we have larger lots, and I can hear that rooster.
If you want to buy our house, we'll be selling soon.
I would prefer this conversation not to say, to boil it down to, would you like to live next to a rooster or not? I would like the motion and the,
I don't
personally.
I don't mind a rooster. Everyone has a different standard. I mean...
That's not even it, though. It's like, I just want you guys to understand, it's not this great thing. It's not this wonderful fairy tale farm. It's a lot of garbage. It's a lot of crap everywhere.
So what's your recourse for garbage, Jim? If a resident has complained about garbage in their neighbor's yard, what's the process?
So we do not have a blight ordinance specific to that,
Okay.
but if we get complaints on it, we would check it and then address it from there with the building inspector.
The other concern was what are they, what's that? It's not a greenhouse, it's a...
Airplane hangar?
High tunnel.
High tunnel.
Yeah.
So is the high tunnel in any sort of zoning infraction? Is it the right size, the right height? Is there any non-compliance of that? Jamie Gorman's not here. Are you aware of any?
I am not aware of any.
All right, we're asking questions that are outside the purview of the regulation that's under consideration tonight, blindly, without any understanding of regulations
blindly.
Outside of what we're even looking at.
Not
So it's
blindly.
not, I think it's inappropriate for discussion at this
Not for me to
time.
say.
We don't have the building official here. The solicitor has not been briefed on really any ordinance that could potentially be applicable to like things that are sort of inherent or as a result, but not direct of these certain activities. Now, when it comes to agricultural activities, that's the defined term. Is it? When we say plant agriculture, that's the growing of plants, or I'm sure it's a defined term, so I don't even want to paraphrase.
It's in the ordinance. In the definitions?
Plant agriculture is a defined term in the Zoning Enabling Act for purposes of specifying, as the state law does, plant agriculture is a permitted use statewide in all residential zoning districts. I think, and part of what I'm hearing the concerns are, that bears on the Right to Farm Act. So the Right to Farm Act protects agricultural operations which are defined under that law from nuisance liability, either as a public nuisance or a private nuisance. That basically means the town can't go after a farm on the basis of a nuisance. It doesn't affect the town from zoning farms appropriately. It also, the Right to Farm Act also means that homeowners can't sue a farm saying it's a nuisance to live next to a farm.
Right.
Because I think there's some understanding inherent in the Right to Farm Act that without that statute, a farm could potentially be a nuisance, right? There's manure on farms that's part of the operation. But that being said, there are ordinances, regulations pertaining to trash storage, proper disposal of manure. So, I mean, there are things that the town can certainly look into and correct. But in terms of the basic question of are farms permitted in residential zones in proximity to residential dwellings, the answer is generally yes in South Kingstown. Pig farms are not permitted, but I don't think we're talking about a pig farm here.
Well, that's funny, because there's a farm in my neighborhood has pigs.
The pig farms are defined under the zoning ordinance, so I don't know if the operation you're talking about it is non-conforming or not, but pig farms are generally prohibited.
You know what? I appreciate you coming up. I appreciate you sending the correspondence.
Thank you.
I think the best thing at this time is to add the correspondence to be considered by the planning board and legal counsel to sort of consider in tandem with what we've already discussed tonight as it relates to potentially amending that regulation. Because we don't want to do it under through one lens. We want it to sort of be all-encompassing.
Yep.
And we don't want to look at one person's interest but not consider the surrounding party's interests. So we're happy you came to the table with that, because now it's come to our attention. We are thinking about it more. But it also sounds to me like there's some state law implications. The Right to Farm Act is a state law. That means the town cannot usurp that law. We don't have authority to sort of contradict or prohibit certain activities that state law says you have as of right. I think, as our solicitor mentioned, with respect to any sort of things that are an indirect result of those activities, trash that is, on the front lawn or abutting the street or whatever it may be. I don't want to get into the specifics as to that. There may be other ordinances that we do have control of that may be on the books that could be enforced to sort of reduce that activity. But with respect to the direct right to farm and agriculture farming or farming of plants, that, according to our solicitor, is as of right per state law, which we don't have the ability to, like I said, usurp or prevent or restrict.
Okay.
So I think best approach, as I said, include this letter to be considered with the legal counsel's review along with the planning board and planning department as to potential amendments to the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So thank you.
If I can also suggest, you can be in touch, and as can you, with the planning board as they're considering.
We have been, and
Okay.
the planning board has, not really been a big help, but, it's, they're, I don't even know how to say it, but it really hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, I've been in touch with both Jamie and Josh Brothers throughout the years, multiple years on all of this, and we pay a lot of money for our house, just as everybody else does around there. But I just don't understand why we need to change the law all of a sudden because somebody wants to have a giant farm on a small piece of property. It just makes no sense. We wouldn't have bought our house, and all of the surrounding neighborhoods or neighbors would not have purchased their homes. That's all I have to say. And I just want you guys to take that into consideration. It's very, very frustrating, and I'm clearly upset by it. I'm sick of complaining about it every single day.
Thank you. Let's take up that motion. You made a motion? We have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. I mean, we've already taken this up. We heard from you at public comment. I mean, this is not a hearing on this item. He had a communication. We allowed them to be heard with respect to the communication. Well, I would just encourage you this. There's going to be public hearings on potential amendments to the zoning ordinance. That is a perfect opportunity to come up and share your personal experiences, your personal challenges, what do you think should be added to the ordinance, or what do you think should not be in there? I mean, you are directly affected by this, so it will be great to hear from you as to how this affects you once we get to those amendments. All right, we're now going to move to new business. Item B, C, D, and E relate to an issue for an order of notice with respect to public hearings. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of those items? If not, I suggest we take those in a block. Oh, I'm sorry, that's A, B, D, and E.
We can take that all together, Mr. President. Congratulations, Wakefield. You're the birthplace of chicken salad in America. Congratulations.
Yeah. Do I hear a motion on item B, D, and E?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve item B, D, and E. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. We're going to go back to item C, a proposal for a resolution recognizing Wakefield as the birthplace of chicken salad, honoring the original recipe first created here in 1863, as requested by Councilmember Jay Wedgemont.
Ladies and gentlemen, I found out the other day that where Town Meats was, not the one the Maddens owned in the late 90s, early 2000s, but the Town Meats that was opened in the 1800s was the originator of the American chicken salad. Amazing thing. I was with the town manager and our town staff last June 3rd, my brother Matt's birthday. When Stop and Shop brought us a resolution for that and gave all of our town employees chicken salad sandwiches. So, hot dog. Now, my Auntie Helen makes the best chicken salad sandwich in America, in my opinion, but I recommend and make a motion to have a resolution honoring this historic day in South Kingstown, Rhode Island, Wakefield, Rhode Island being the birthplace of the American chicken salad sandwich. That's a motion.
All right, we got a motion. Do I hear a second? We have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, my mic's not working.
Councilmember Wedgemont, I do have this plaque that I'm going to ask you to present
Lovely.
to the town manager, to be hung up in the town manager's office, to be held there in perpetuity.
My mic isn't working. Oh, Jim, you know you want this.
Birthplace of the American chicken salad. On this day, June 3rd, Stop and Shop proudly recognizes Wakefield, Rhode Island as the birthplace of chicken salad, honoring the original recipe first created here in 1863 and the community that helped shape an American classic. And before you go, that may be a Wikipedia hoax. In fact, Mr. Barry Gross, his grandfather knew the original owner, the Grays of Town Meats, and he does have the original documentation. You can contact the Gross family. They live off Tuckertown Road if you want to follow up with that. They also still own the building that Cat Bar is in. So, Mr. Manning, here is your recommendation.
Also, the original chicken salad recipe had grapes, tarragon, and mayonnaise.
All right, we do have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. It's going to move us to item F. Lori Fox, come on up.
Good evening. The IT department had secured a cybersecurity grant from the Rhode Island Emergency Management back in May of 2025 for the implementation of a security information and event management system. Obviously, since 2025, from now, we've had it in place for about a year now. The system provides centralized cybersecurity logs for us. It's actually provided a number of useful tools to see what's going on in our network. So since the grant has lapsed, we're now moving into covering it through an operational funding, which I have in my FY27 funds. So I'm looking to renew the contract with CDWG, which falls under the state MPA contract 227. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I appreciate all your, making sure you had it all in there, Lori, and it's good job.
Thank you.
I don't have
Lori,
any questions.
Are these does this system generate those emails that we get with those security tasks that we're supposed to do?
No, that's actually a separate grant that the Rhode Island State Police procured for the entire state of Rhode Island and all municipalities. We have the option of using it. We've been using it for, I'm going to say, at least 7-8 years now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve item 11F.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
It's going to move us to item G. Mark Russo.
Good evening. So this is a resolution authorizing a bid to Dimeo Properties of Warwick, Rhode Island, to do the town facilities landscaping, cutting the grass, trimming the hedges, and so forth. This is for a 2-year contract with the option to go for a 3rd year. It will be budgeted through our general fund budget. And as you know, the Parks Department used to do that, or they had done it in the past for many, many years. But with the staffing issues that they've had in the past, we decided to go out to bid on this. And we have used Dimeo, the school department's used them exclusively for the last at least 10 years. And I've used them at the South Road School to keep that property up and going. So they do an excellent job there.
Thank you, Mark. Go ahead.
No conflicts with CBAs, collective bargaining agreements?
No.
Motion to approve item 11G.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, next we got Rich Bourbonnais. Rich, we got you for items H, I, J, and K. Now, if there's no specific questions, I'm going to ask council members, we could take this up in a block.
Is anything exciting, Rich?
Nothing exciting.
Great.
Wastewater
No rip
chemicals.
rap? Oh, there is rip rap.
No riprap. Wastewater chemicals and,
Yeah.
well, no, there is riprap.
Yeah, there is. J. J. Motion to approve item 11H, I, and J.
How about item K?
Okay, sorry, sure.
Second.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve items H, I, J, and K of new business. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Chemicals
It's
and
going to bring us
roads.
to item L, Brian Sylvia.
Brian Sylvia.
Good evening. Before you this evening is the write-off of uncollectible taxes from the 2015 tax roll. All total, there are 280 accounts that are proposed for write-off. Of that 280, 229 are associated with motor vehicles, ranging from $5.41 to $829.60. Motor vehicles total up to $19,640. The remaining accounts, there are 51 tangible accounts. Those range in value from $7.76 to $1,466. Total on tangible is $8,985.
All right, thank you, Brian. And this is required by statute. Anytime a tax becomes 10
Yes.
years old from the date of assessment.
That's correct. We no longer have an ability to collect on these taxes.
Okay.
Motion to approve item 11L.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions for Wendy? No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Thank you.
It's going to bring us to item M.
Thank you. Before you this evening is the tax resolution for the 26-27 fiscal year. What's before you is an overall levy amount of $81,700,000. This is for just some of the verbiage that's in the tax resolution, just to go over. For accounts of $100 or less, they will be coming due on the first quarter, and for any accounts $100 or more, they are broken up into quarterly payments that are due August 1st, November 1st, February 1st, and May 1st. If any quarter's tax payment is delinquent, the total remaining due for taxes for the year will be subject to a 12% penalty. In terms of the levy amount, we had proposed at budget time a tax rate of $9.09. During what's reflective in the $81,700,000 levy amount is a rate of $9.12, and that is accounting for that 10% increase that has been proposed by the council for the elderly exemption. So you're seeing a 3% increase on the rate reflective of the elderly exemption, where we were assuming at the last meeting an additional 100 people coming, and the liability was approximately $587,000 that we're assuming. So this is reflective of that.
Okay, Brian, I got a quick question for you. So 1 cent is equivalent to 80,000 in revenue?
Just over 87,000.
87, all right, let's just say 90,000. So, but the cost of the program is in excess of 500,000, yet a 3 cent difference in the tax rate is equivalent to 270,000.
I'm sorry. We also have assessed value go up from the adoption by about $17 million. So assessed value is also going up. We were anticipating the impact of the elder exemption being about 5-6 cents, and you're seeing a 4 cent increase from 909 to 912. Because in addition to this, we also had assessed values go up, which mitigated the increase.
Okay, so the increase in revenue is from the increase in assessments itself offsetting
Correct.
the expected amount we'd have to recoup by increasing in taxes, allowing us to increase by less.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Brian?
So, yes, but you can go.
The additional sums that you referenced for the elderly exemption, that's just indexing it? Is that correct? It's not the discussion about homestead?
No, it has nothing to do with that. And our estimate was 916, so I was happy to see 912, I'll be honest.
Thank you.
So last year, we set the tax rate at 909.
894.
894. And we could have reduced it by 4 cents. Do you remember that, Patty, last year?
Yes,
And I
do.
specifically, you said, I recall you saying.
It was actually 898. We could have reduced it to 890. We decided to reduce it to 894.
Correct.
Correct.
That's correct.
That is correct.
And Patty said we could use it for tax relief, that we had collected that extra 4 cents, and she said we could, remember, we've got the homestead on the horizon, and we might be able to provide some tax relief. So I'm just putting it out there that last year when we didn't do it, when we could, now we have to do it. It doesn't really, the math doesn't math to me, because last year we took an extra 4 cents we didn't need to take. And then we now at this stage, we're not providing tax relief, we're just adding another 3 cents to the rate. Just pointing it out that last year, that's what we did, and we could have done something different.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Motion to approve item 11M.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say that the net effect would be the same position we're in now, but we'd have to increase it further if we had reduced it down to $8.90 at the time.
We didn't
Correct?
we didn't take enough out of the undesignated fund.
So that, right, my microphone.
So what Councilwoman Alley suggested at the time actually helped us smooth over the increase, because if we had taken the $8.94 to the $8.90, would have been a larger increase to incur by the taxpayer, because we'd be in the same position moving it up to the 26, 27.
We didn't
tax
take
rate.
additional money that we put in the undesignated fund out for tax relief. It's okay.
My microphone doesn't work, so I'm going to take that as a sign to
Move on.
move on.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Before we get to N and O, I know the Ocean Mist has been here waiting a while. We appreciate your patience. I know you guys are at the end there, but we're going to move you up here. So come on up. We understand you're here for the application to be open later on those specific dates, which are to air the FIFA World Cup games. So Kevin, welcome.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, Kevin.
Happy. Yep. You guys are changing an ordinance or whatever it is to maybe stay open. I think a lot of these have fallen in the morning early, like 6, 7, 8. So we've done World Cups before, and I think just recently it was hockey at the pub we opened up. Those two popular things. So if the U.S. is in and you have instead of Miracle on the Ice, we have Miracle on the Field, maybe it'd be busy or something like that. But it's just just going to be ready for it if it's appropriate to do.
All right. And it is for the Ocean Mist and the pub.
Correct.
All right. And Amy, just to flesh out the statute, so it allows you to serve alcohol till 3 a.m. on those specific dates, but you can stay open till 4 a.m. on those specific dates.
Correct.
And then after municipal approval is given, it only applies to dates that are 14 days or later out.
The law, unfortunately, was just enacted May 29th, so some of the days, the 14-day deadline, I think it was a practical impossibility for the first weekend. I'm not sure what the intent was on that, the 14-day deadline. It is only in connection with those specified dates in the law.
And is it 14 days out from the date of approval tonight? Or are we taking the position that because of that practical impossibility, they'll have the ability to open as soon as the next FIFA game?
June 11th.
Till that later time.
The first section of the law says that the establishment may apply to their licensing authority at least 14 days in advance. I think there's room for the council to make a determination that you have sufficient notice. The deadline is there, I think, for your benefit. I think it's also fair to say we need 14 days notice, so the permission can only be, effective 14 days from the date of the notice. It's a brand new law, and it's a one-time thing for this summer.
So what was our date of notice? What was the date by which the applicant submitted an interest in seeking town council approval?
It's right here. June 1st. June 1 from Nicole Deschanel.
So assuming that the application was sent on June 1, one position we can take under the statute is that they're permitted to operate, if they have approval, to be open till 4 a.m. on June 15th and serve alcohol till 3 a.m. on June 15th, provided there's a FIFA World Cup game on that date.
Yeah, and the 15th isn't, it goes from the 14th to the 16th. So the council could take a position, you're approving everything on and after June 16th.
Okay.
Can Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you mind? So on those dates that the FIFA events would be happening, it's just FIFA. You're gonna not having music or entertainment?
Oh, no.
No, it's just watching the matches?
Pretty much
Okay.
like we've, done in the past, just they all have fallen in the morning.
Yeah.
Like the 2 or 3 times with soccer was 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. And the hockey game, I think is the latest thing, was like 7 or 8 o'clock at the pub.
In the morning?
In the morning.
So you're gonna open, so you're opening later, you're not opening at 7 a.m. for FIFA?
No, you don't
It's-
need to because the game wouldn't be playing. It would be more like if the way the clock is and the way the games are, I think they end at 12, 1 or 2. If this team wins and that team wins, so it would be, there's a lot of happening here. This probably won't happen, but, if it does,
Okay.
it'd be good to see.
Mr. Finnegan, you typically have a long line in the summer or during the school year out on Matunic Beach Road, which is wonderful on Saturday mornings. Probably
Yeah.
they start pretty early.
Yep,
You think you're going to have an additional detail for this as well, or?
Oh, yeah, we would approach this as if any band, event, college, the Ocean Mist is, equipped or experienced in busyness. Whether it was, 20 years ago or 10, with bands or calling the town managers or, the police department. Higher officers, yes.
That's great news. I know
Yep.
you're an upstanding citizen.
Yep.
You do directly impact positively in our community, and I'm sure you're going to run this as professionally as you always have. So, motion to approve item 11P.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to clarify. So Amy, we're construing the statute that 14 days from the date we first received notice, any sort of games that fall on that date or later, he's permitted to operate.
I think that's a fair interpretation of the statute.
Okay. All right, any further discussion?
God bless your staff. Who's gonna work until...
Well, we haven't talked about if we can get the staff to do this, but.
I know, but I mean, oh
First
my
things first.
lord.
Yep.
We could celebrity bartend. We'll do it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to get my skills back out. That's it. All right,
I
thank
mean,
you.
that's a lot of days. So the 16th, it's the 16th through July 3rd.
Yep. Yeah, I think it would be if major events, like US is in there, certain things. That's it, so.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So we got a motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes. Kevin, good luck. Thank you. Hey, you don't have to leave yet, Kevin. No, I'm just kidding. You're all set.
Good times.
All right, it's going to bring us to new business item N. Luke Murray, come on up.
Good evening. All right, let me see. All right, as we do every year, we'll be reviewing the non-union personnel pay plan and benefits for the town. I'll try to move swiftly through this, but if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. As you know, we're required by ordinance to present the pay plan and rules every year to the council for final adoption. I will note, however, that this was already included, all the changes are included in the budget for this year, which has also been adopted. For reference, non-union is going to have an increase of 2.5%, which was included in the budget. And I have a reference chart here, which includes the SKMEA union, which is at 3% for this year, which was collectively bargained, along with C94 at 2%, the IAFF EMS at 2%, and then IBPO Local 489 at 3%. I will say with collective bargaining, you see varied percentages here. That's a result of different benefits they got in their individual agreements. So you might see 2%, but they got other incentive benefits in there. If, as a reminder, we negotiated retention pay, skill-based incentives, things along those lines to try to balance out percentages. So when we look at it, it's not always apples to apples, union to union or non-union. The position pay allocation table, which is in your packet and also online, actually shows the entire grade and step schedule and reflects that 2.5% increase. I will speak to the Deputy Library Director position in a moment, which is at the bottom highlighted in yellow, which was added to the table this year. As a reminder, all non-exempt employees, grade 10 or lower, are eligible for overtime or comp time. Those 11 and above typically superintendents, managers, directors are not eligible for overtime. So anyone at the higher pay grades works in their own time past the 35 or 40 day schedule.
And just to clarify, that requirement for overtime is under the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act.
Correct.
We have no
Based on the
choice.
classification of the employee.
It's not negotiation, it's federal law.
No, that's a law. Yep. Couple staffing updates. As you know, we're continuing to expand our EMS paramedic team by 1 this year. That will bring us to a complement of a total of 25, not inclusive of the chief of the administrative assistant. So it's 26.5, I'm sorry, with that. As a reminder, we have 20 who are assigned to a 24-hour rotational shift. We're working right now to stand up a peak hour shift to start the process of reestablishing the South Station. Our unit has now moved over to Ministerial Road, Station 3. So we're operating on a North Station and the new South Station. The plan is to short-term prop up a peak hour program that would do 12-hour shifts. That's in the works right now. That would require 4 additional bodies, so that brings us to 24. 1 additional body is required for the community paramedic program. That gives us 25. So that's our complement. Over the coming years, as we've always discussed, the intent is to get to a full 3 shifts, but it takes time. And I will say EMS, just like fire, we're always cognizant of overtime and filling of those shifts, because on a 24 rotation, any vacancy causes overtime. So we're trying to take a slow approach to this to make sure that we're fiscally responsible as we expand. A fire inspector expansion occurred mid-year. This was because, quite frankly, we couldn't fill the position and there was a need. It was justified by Lance Whaley, our communications superintendent, the amount of maintenance they were doing. He wrote a memo to the manager. We reviewed it. We did try to post for a position at a part-time, which we had traditionally had. We decided to increase this on a 0.55 FTE, which was substantially, if not all, offset by healthcare savings by the director not taking into account healthcare and some other changes that occurred. So it was budgetarily offset, so we were able to do that mid-year within the existing budget. The last change, which is effective on this new pay plan, is a deputy library director. That would be a grade 12 position. If you remember, we've progressively instituted deputies in every department for operational redundancy, so we have backup in case the director goes down, but also just stability throughout. What we found 5 years ago is we had a lot of operational instability. We had a lot of director vacancies, and there was a knowledge gap. So by having that redundancy, it's worked really well. In this case, it's not a big leap monetarily, because we have a librarian 3 that is retiring. We just simply will not backfill that position. So between the retention pay that individual was getting because of their tenure, and they were at a step 3 on a grade 10, there's only about a $2,500 difference to go to this new deputy position. So the timing was right. We knew it was coming. This is the time to make that move. It's almost budget neutral to be able to get that position moving forward. So we'll be getting a candidate for that. That's in the works now. Benefits. Not a lot to report on the benefits this year. Actually, there are no substantial changes to report on. As a reminder, all employees do pay 20% of their medical and dental as a co-share. That's more for the public, because I know a lot of times the questions come up, do the employees pay something? They do. And just like everyone, their health care and medical dental went up as well this year, as we know. It went up 12.1% for the medical and 8.5% for the town. That includes the employees. So that pay adjustment's going to get offset by those increases. So I just want the public to know that our employees, all of them, have skin in the game. That's union and non-union, pay that 20%. For the additional benefits, I won't review them because I already reviewed them last year when the changes were implemented. They're online. Anybody can view them. I will update those on the 1st of July. The current one is in effect. It is available and has not substantially changed. So I'm certainly glad to answer any questions now. Last slide, this is with regard to town manager compensation, and this is just a reminder for the council. Every year, I bring this to you for consideration. The manager's contract refers to the non-union pay plan and guidelines. as far as benefit and salary adjustment. I'm sorry. So as a reminder, this year is a 2.5%. The council has full purview over the manager's salary. The contract just refers to the non-union adjustment as a reference guide. So I'm bringing that to your attention and asking for some guidance in personnel if that's the direction you're heading or if there's an alternate adjustment there. And then I'll answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you, Luke. Any questions from council members?
Just with respect to the deputy library director, Luke, I understand that you essentially had a trade-off because of her retirement. Particularly given the new facilities, are we looking at increasing that in next year's budget? The total
For
staffing.
the Community Learning Center?
Yeah.
So we had already moved in previous budget cycles to hire a CLC coordinator. Currently, he's in that position now. So that wouldn't impact that program at all. We already have the staffing to run the center. So this will certainly help with coordination of that, but no, there's no additional ads.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council members? All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve item 11N.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. It's going to move us to item O. Chief Moynihan, come on up.
Good evening. Item O is an authorization for an award of contract to JHB Group. This is as you know, we secured a $1 million grant through the COPS program for a mobile command post. We put it out to bid. We had two companies that responded to our bid. We found that JHB meets the needs and the specs of what we're looking for in a mobile command post. So this request is to allow us to enter into a contract with them to an amount not to exceed the $1 million, which is provided through the federal grant.
Good.
I didn't get a memo about this. It's not on the agenda nor in my emails. When was this sent out? It says...
I think it was June 1st.
Okay, I don't have that, so I can't vote on a $1 million
It's
budget.
attached to the agenda. I clicked right on it.
I'm on the agenda right now, Councilwoman Bergner, and I can't click on it, so...
Well,
Chief, is this fully funded by federal
mine can.
subsidies?
It is.
I did it, so try it again.
So it's not using any local funding.
Right.
It was
So
congressional grant. that
So this
we-
is Senator Reid, this came from Senator Reid's office, congressional directed spending.
Can you open yours?
So this is a grant.
Everyone but you.
So
Just saying.
I'm so frustrated.
All right, let's just listen. In the event we haven't had an opportunity to read the memo, let's listen to the chief, let's listen to the manager as to what this
So this
relates
is,
to.
this is $1 million grant, we asked for it through Senator Reid, he supplied the entire amount. This is in a partnership with the University of Rhode Island as a mobile command post where, so, and also in the event of mutual aid for other surrounding communities.
Exactly.
So very few have this very important tool. It would be used for like the 4th of July, could be used for the graduation at URI, could be used for an active shooter, could be used if the police department went down for some reason and anthrax went in the building. It's very important to have it. Very few communities have it. We've been entrusted to get this and share it with URI, even though it will remain in our control. Not $1 will come from taxpayer money. It's coming from a federal grant.
Yeah.
Is this what we saw last year on the 4th of July? There was a giant mobile command center. Was that
That's
like...
the EMA one, but it won't be as big as that.
Okay.
Right, okay, but that was a pretty, impressive asset
Yes.
that we had
So
last year.
Chief Moynihan and Chief Jagoda from URI are working together to make sure that it meets the needs of both entities, the town and URI.
Motion to approve item 11O.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just want to compliment the manager on the joint effort with URI and getting the money from Jack Reed.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, that passes 5-0.
Great, thank you.
Chief. All right, it's going to bring us back to public comment. Anyone who hasn't spoken, who wishes to speak on any matter, I invite you to come on up. We just ask that you introduce yourself. We're going to limit you to 5 minutes.
Attorney Roberta Mulholland. I'm happy to hear what you're doing with the farm retail stand ordinance. We don't have to agree, as attorneys, we frequently don't agree on interpretation, but agreeing on clarifying the ordinance is really important. Appreciate you referring it to council and to the planning board because they will bring in farmers, and before we fool around with definitions, we need to listen to the farmers. I spent most of my career representing people and businesses in agriculture and fishing industries. They know what they need. So before we, throw around terms like micro farm or anything, that's great. Very, very happy to hear that. Because we need encouragement in South Kingstown. This town was built on agriculture and fishing, and we're losing young people. I know of 2 young farmers who left for other states. They were in South Kingstown, and they were trying their hardest, but it's easier in other states. Right now, Rhode Island has the highest percentage of beginning farmers in the United States. Both the number of farms and percentage of farmland in Rhode Island at the 2022 census had increased by 1%. You can get a lot of good information on the DEM website. I think one of the things that people need to know when they move to South Kingstown is we're a rural town. We do have a right to farm, and thinking that we're not going to have that, it would really destroy South Kingstown. And then finally, before you can have chicken salad, you need to have chickens. And so we're all familiar with the Rhode Island Red, which was developed by Massachusetts and Rhode Island farmers together. Are we as familiar with the Rhode Island White? The Rhode Island White, I have to say I have raised these. It's an old heritage breed. And guess where it was developed? Peacedale. Peacedale, Rhode Island. Not like the Rhode Island Red, someplace Massachusetts, Rhode Island. This is our chicken, the Rhode Island White, and it was John Alonzo Jacoy of Peacedale. And I know where you can get them. And if you'd like, I'll spring for 3 of day-olds. They're $6 a piece. In a couple of months, you can present a live chicken to Mr. Manny, because I know
at it tonight.
I could see he was disappointed, just the plaque, but a live
So
chicken,
Roberta,
the hens are docile.
I have a question. So do you think the chicken salad from 1863 was the Rhode Island Whites or the Rhode Island Reds?
I think that
If
was
the chicken
probably the
crossed High
Reds.
Street, would
Okay.
it stop
I
at
think
Town
it was
Hall?
the Reds because he didn't develop the whites until 1888.
She's correct.
So, I know a little bit about my chickens, but I appreciate what you're doing and sending that. Pardon?
Where could you get?
Stromberg's, online, $6 a piece, day-olds right now. If you buy 50, they're $5 a piece.
No.
Very easy to
Jim,
raise,
what do you think?
very docile, non-broody hens. It's the kind you want. They don't get all broody and sit on the eggs, try to hatch them. Don't need a rooster to have the eggs, for all the people who think you need a rooster to have eggs. You'll enjoy them. They're very sweet. Thanks.
Thank you, Roberta. Thank you, Roberta.
You
Not
were
only
at
a
it.
farmer's lawyer, but well-known
Chicken
as
lady.
to farming. Thank you, Roberta. All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak who hasn't spoken?
So I'd like to say something, if no one else can speak.
Go ahead.
So the last couple of weeks, we've had a number of medical incidents, car accidents, fires, and I just want to recognize, just take a minute to really appreciate Union Fire, Kingston Fire, EMS, and the police department who have responded to many different things, some publicly known, some not publicly known, but I just didn't want to just move on through the last couple of weeks and not recognize, even last Saturday, Kingston Fire is doing their chicken barbecue, and there's a fire in Kingston that they're then dropping everything to respond to it. So I would just want to recognize that there are a lot of great people doing great work and not seeking accolades or grandstanding or anything like that. They just go about their job and come back and do it again tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you. If you had a role in any of that, I greatly appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Deb. Agreed?
Thank you.
Okay, it's going to move us to our last item here, item 14B, an email dated March 13, 2026, from Shirley Fredig, Narrow River Preservation Association, requesting to make a presentation to the Town Council related to the dredging of the Narrow River and other organizational initiatives. All right, welcome.
Jim, there's a button on the side.
Yep,
I'm sorry
you
to
just
interrupt.
click the button on the right.
All right, sorry about that. Again, I'm James Vogel from Riverside Drive here in South Kingstown, also a board member of Narrow River Preservation Association. So I'm not sure how this is prefaced, but I'm just want to make sure we want to, from NRPA, that you're aware of the dredging project that's pending in Narragansett for the Narrow River. And it's something that's pretty big that's going to impact residents in Narragansett as well as South Kingstown and North Kingstown. So it's a project that's basically going to address, hopefully, if we do this right, it's going to address things that have accumulated over years with a lot of sand at the mouths of the river, not allowing the river to flush and get the proper drainage, as well as the goal would be also to deal with boating and navigation safety that's going on inside the river. So it's something that I believe the Narragansett town will be coming to you, and we're going to need support from our town to support this, and I'm just here to kind of just give you a lowdown of that. I can go through statistics. We have a presentation that I think we can give you the email to that you can see it, but I just wanted to raise awareness, and really that's what we're just trying to do here. The project, if it goes ahead, just to give you the order of magnitude here on it, it's going to be roughly somewhere between $1.6 and $2 million, of which they're seeking some federal assistance. But there will be some matching funds that will have to come here from the local areas. It fits in with our SAMP, or our management program for the estuary. So this is all something that will happen. If the permits are now in hand from CRMC and DEM, we're waiting for Army Corps of Engineers permit. It should be here very soon. And then they'll go out to bid. And if we can get the window for them to award and get the funding, the project would commence October 15th and go through January 31st. That's it in a nutshell. Again, I could talk about this for a long time. Yes, sir.
Of this year, sir?
Yeah, if they get the funding and if all the permits are in line, yes, it can happen this year. That is, I think, the goal. If not, the permit is there for 5 years, and then it would go out to when they would get the funding and be next year. But that window for work is very specific due to the nesting birds and the migrating fish, that it cannot happen other than between October 15th and January 31st.
All right, you've provided us with copies of the presentation for us to...
I'll give a link to, and have that there. I think Shirley did, but if not, I'll make sure it's there.
Okay.
So, James Vogel.
Yes, ma'am.
I have wanted to lay eyes on you since I first saw your name, because that was my father's name. And I haven't been able to say that name since 1994, so I'm happy to see you here.
All right, thank you. I'm here in town.
It's a good,
It's an honor to have his name.
Good name.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, I think we appreciate you doing this short pitch, not really a presentation, but short sort of, here's what to expect when you look at the presentation slide deck that I guess we've all received at this point. And then we'll review it, take it into consideration. If we want you to come back, we'll ask you to come back and do a more substantive type of presentation on it.
All right, we're here again. I think you'll be also contacted by the town of Narragansett, I'm sure.
Okay, sounds good.
All right,
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, that's going to bring us to the end here. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Are we sure about this? Yes. All in favor? Aye. All right, that passes this.